Okay. Hallo. Oh, ist das süß. Oh mein Gott, ist das niedlich. Beherrscht euch, Jungs. Beherrscht euch. Gut. Okay, wartet. Ich muss warten, ob es übernommen wird. Ich muss erstmal... Oh Gott. Hallo? Spiel? Spiel? Okay, warum ist... Okay, wir müssen erstmal die Auflösung ändern. Fullscreen, bitte. Windows? Warum funktioniert das nicht? Ich glaube, das kann ich nicht in Fullscreen machen. Aber dann machen wir Transformieren auf Bildschirmzeit. Was nicht hat. Ich bin neu im Streaming-Ding. So. Okay, und jetzt starten wir es neu. Ihr müsst es sehen. Es ist viel zu süß. Ihr müsst das sehen. Valheim. Ark mit Wikingern? Okay, muss ich mir angucken. Nein, Mann, das kommt immer zu spät. Das sieht voll süß aus. Die Firma heißt Cotton Candy und da ist einfach so ein rosa Hase, der einfach so rosa blutet aus den Augen. Hat ein Haar im Auge. Hört mal kurz Musik, ich gehe ganz kurz pipi. Na? Habe ich was verpasst? Dankeschön. Aber die Frage ist, muss ich einen Mann spielen, damit ich die Frauen abbekomme? Ich weiß ja, ihr wollt die Frauen haben. Danke, Missy. Eine Hasensammlung zeigen. Oh, und keiner wollte es sehen. Guck mal, das ist für die Programmierer hier. Hier, ja? Schön, oder? Richtig schön ist das. So, Settings. Können wir bitte den Text auf Englisch? Weil Japanisch liegt mir nicht so. Es tut, also... schwierig. Skip. Was? Speed hoch, ja, gut. Was? Ich glaube, wir spielen einfach. Keine Ahnung, was ist das? Was ist das? Speichern. Might I recommend playing first before attempting to save the game? Isn't that scary? Promise. Ich mag den Entwickler. Die Entwickler, ich liebe die Entwickler, wer auch immer sie sind, ich liebe sie. Was ist passiert? Okay, geht nicht gut. Hä? Ich habe doch gerade ausgewählt. Englisch möchte ich bitte. Das habe ich mir... Was? Was?
How's our little ray of sunshine doing this morning?
Was, Beatrix? Kannst du bitte nochmal sagen?
Still unconscious, but their vitals are stable. With any luck, our patient will wake up today.
Does this mean that I won't get to lovingly sponge bathe them anymore?
Kann man die Musik
I
leiser
enjoyed
machen?
it so much.
Beatrix, what you do on your own time is none of my concern.
Missy, das Problem ist, das Spiel ist während Corona entstanden. Ja, das Problem ist nicht, dass der Ah, so macht man das. Okay, perfekt. Perfekt. Sound mache ich auch ein bisschen leiser. Perfekt. Ja, perfekt. Gut. Was heißt das? Nein, ich will nicht quitten. Oh. Oh.
Nicholas, look!
Kannst du bitte ist das automatisch? Tja. Wie kann man denn automatisch machen? Ja, Tja.
Water, Beatrix, water. I'll go fetch some while you perform the basic cognitive tests.
Die hat zwei große Argumente. Deswegen spielen wir es ja. What, where am I? Ich bin ein Roboter jetzt. Muss ich jetzt übersetzen? Das ist nämlich viel Text. Ihr könnt alle Englisch, oder? Warte mal. Ich glaube, es ist sinnvoller, wartet, wenn ich hier rüber gehe. Ich glaube, es ist sinnvoller. Ich glaube, so machen wir das. Ja, dann könnt ihr den Text wenigstens sehen. Ja, ich habe halt meinen Hals geklärt, ne? So. Habe ich gemacht. An unfamiliar voice emanated from my parched throat in a harsh croak.
It's about time you woke up. Good morning. Let me be the first to welcome you aboard the Everett.
Danke. Könnt mich nicht willkommen geheißener fühlen.
My name is Beatrix Vogel.
Vogel!
I'm one of the medical officers here.
Vogel! Ich kann kein Deutsch, sorry. I'm sorry, but what's going on? Wait. The Everett? This is the Everett? The last thing I remember, I was in the escape pod and... Ich muss erstmal mein Englisch-Game wieder finden, ne? Vogel. Beatrix Vogel. Schau mal, Bambi, ein Vogel. Vogel. Kannst mich Blume nennen, wenn du magst. Ach, I paused. I didn't remember much of anything. Only brief snatches of conversation and the odd glimpses of mathematische equations, but none of it made sense. Ich kann mathematisch nicht aussprechen. Ich kann es nicht.
Whoa, slow down, sailor. The captain will debrief you once we've given you a clean bill of health. But until then, you're not going anywhere.
Ich will auch nirgendwo hin. You have blonde hair. I reached for Beatrix's golden hair, which poured over her shoulders in gentle curls.
I know. Glorious, isn't it?
Krass. Blonde Haare. Haltet euch fest, sie hat blonde Haare. What? You do English? I've never seen blonde hair before. Can I touch it?
I guess I've still got it. Why don't we go ahead and find out how you're doing before you try to ravish me, though? All right?
Sehr gut, Tobi. Sehr gut. Wow, Dominik. Das heißt, ich finde uns heißt richtig. Enter Otaku in Menu to unlock the HC Gallery. Ich glaube nicht. I nodded at her weakly. Head woozy from the movement.
Perfect.
Woozy.
So, first question. How many fingers am I holding up?
2.
I haven't put my hands up yet.
2.
That's interesting.
Be honest, is there something seriously wrong with me?
Let me ask you a few questions before we answer that, shall we? Okay, next question. Are you a man or a woman?
I think that's pretty obvious.
It's to test your basic recall. Just play along.
Ich spiele als Frau. Vielleicht kriegen wir da nur die Männer ab. Es tut mir leid, Chat, okay? Aber ich bin nun mal eine Frau und ich werde als
You
Frau
most
spielen.
certainly are, and quite an attractive one at that.
Guck, ich hab sie jetzt schon. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's nice to see a fresh new face around here.
Are you sure it's not your vision we should be concerned about? Beatrix fixed her intense gaze on me for a moment, slowly drawing her face closer to mine. Finally, unable to keep a straight face any longer, she burst out laughing.
A comedian. I like that.
Was? Ich bin Comedian?
Water, as requested.
Danke, James.
Ah, Nicholas. Excellent timing. This is my extremely handsome little brother Nicholas.
Oh, die heißen nämlich beide Vogel. Ich dachte, die sind verheiratet. Yes! Okay, Nicholas nodded modestly. I rose to a sitting position in the bed and accepted the proffered glass of water, drowning it in only a few greedy gulps.
Nice to finally meet you. My sister already beat me to it, but I'm Nicholas Vogel, Beatrix's younger brother. She's only 2 minutes older than me,
Die ist
but she's
älter?
never let me forget it.
Die ist älter? Was hast du in deinem Leben gemacht? Wie viele Kriege hast du miterlebt, wenn du so schon aussiehst und sie so? Das also... Hallo, Sascha. Natürlich, Tobi, alle.
It's all right. Don't be afraid to stare. We're well aware that we won the genetic lottery.
Du ja, aber er? Nicholas rolled his eyes at his sister in mock exasperation. I tried to contain myself.
Nicholas, this is,
Ja.
You didn't even ask our patient her name. Honestly, Beatrix.
Whoops.
Beatrix lifted her shoulders in a dismissive shrug before turning her attention to me.
So, what is your name?
Also, was, Jordan? Nein, ich gehe nicht über den Jordan. Ich glaube, es hackt. Warte mal, was? Was ist denn das für eine Tastatur? Ich heiße auf jeden Fall Luna. Da sehe ich mich. Warte, man muss sich mich groß schreiben. Die sind auch alle groß geschrieben, richtig? Komm, ihr dürft mich ruhig anschreien. Das ist okay, das bin ich von Pokémon gewählt. Gewählt. Luna!
Well, it's nice to see you awake at last.
Danke. With pleasantries now out of the way, Nicholas turned his full attention to me. As he held his fingers firmly against my wrist to take my pulse, he shined a torch in my eyes with his free hand. Its bright beam left black and green spots lingering in my field of vision long after the torch had been extinguished.
How are you feeling?
Tina. Voll gut. Pretty good, actually. Like, I've had a really good night's sleep. Bit hazy, I'm still feeling pretty out of it, to be honest. Ja, also, oh, mir geht's so ganz schlecht. Bitte kümmert euch um mich.
You've been through quite a lot, so it's not unusual if you're feeling a bit out of it.
Danke, Nicholas. How long have I been unconscious?
At least 4 days.
What?
You're very fortunate
Hunger.
that we happened to recover your escape pod as it drifted through space.
Pupils are reacting normally. There's no apparent loss of fine motor skills, and you seem coherent. Are you experiencing any dizziness or nausea?
Nee, ich hab Hunger. No, I feel fine. My stomach is a bit herb. I think I'm going to be sick. Ja, mein Magen, ist mir egal. Ich hab Hunger. Not missing a beat, the doctor handed me a bucket, which I promptly vomited into. Was? Nein, ich hab Hunger. Das rein, nicht rau.
It appears that something I've administered doesn't agree with you. Or perhaps a symptom of your concussion.
I'm so sorry.
There's no need to apologize. After all, I am a doctor. As far as I'm concerned, the contents of that bucket are nothing more than a common bodily fluid. I'm far more interested in what caused this reaction than the result of the reaction itself. Never mind that for now. I'll have you come back in for some more tests later. Hopefully next time we can meet under more pleasant circumstances. Are you currently experiencing any other symptoms?
Hunger. The lights in here hurt my eyes
Ein
and I...
Herz für May kleiner als 3.
Danke für die 111 Bits, Missy. Vielen, vielen Dank. Das ist sehr lieb von dir. Dankeschön. Wirklich vielen, vielen Dank. Ja, May, das habe ich ja gesagt, dass wir das spielen. Wir haben ja Cyberpunk fertig gespielt hier. Du kannst ja... Geschichte der Bebe. Nini Bebe. Wo waren wir jetzt? The lights in here hurt my eyes and I can't seem to remember much of anything. I know who I am and how to speak and I could talk your ear off about the theoretical impossibility of perpetual energy. Ich habe keine Ahnung, wie spricht man sowas aus. But everything else is fuzzy.
That'll be the concussion. Give it time.
Ich mag den gar nicht so gern. Er ist mir zu unsüß. Also, er ist mir ein bisschen zu glatt. Aber es ist okay. Ist besser als Zero Escape 1.
By the way, Beatrix, I've taken the liberty of informing the captain that our patient is awake.
Du hast noch Text. Da fehlt noch. She'll be down here any moment to debrief her. Da fehlt...
We haven't even cleared.
Dann red halt nicht.
She said it was top priority. Given everything that's happened this last week, well, you can understand why.
There's no need to defend her, Nicholas. We both know whose fault this really is.
Not now, Beatrix.
Eyebrows furrowed, Nicholas leaned in towards me. When he spoke, his deep voice was hushed.
Before the captain arrives, I want to warn you not to...
Ja.
Nicholas.
I'm sorry.
Es gibt eine AI. Okay, es gibt eine AI, die vielleicht ein bisschen psycho sein könnte. Oh Gott, Lilac, Dankeschön für den Raid. Und hallo alle. Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank. Ich hoffe, ihr hattet einen wunderschönen Raid. Hallo. Miau zurück. Danke für den Follow, Lilac. Wie war euer Stream? Ich hab dich schön gemacht. Oh Gott, danke für die ganzen Follows. Ich komme nicht hinterher. Danke für den Follow. Level up. Level up Mathe? Mathe. Danke Wolfi, danke Black Skies, danke Wahnsinn und danke Tantipu und Resonance. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. Und hallo. Und danke Paola van Wolfen. Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Es ist sehr lieb von euch. Dankeschön. So viele Herzen. Nein, es gibt nicht so viele Herzen. May, ich weiß, du kannst mit Liebe nicht umgehen. Oh Gott. Leider, Dankeschön für die 100 Bits. Vielen, vielen Dank. Eigentlich müsste ich dir 100 Bits geben dafür. Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank. Hallo. Ich hoffe, ihr hattet wirklich ganz viel Spaß. Und einen wunderschönen Abend. Und danke... Reinkawano Akuma und Ganjek. Ich kann leider kein Japanisch ein. Sorry. Und danke für die 100 Bits. Wahnsinn. Das ist Wahnsinn. Dankeschön, Wahnsinn. Das ist sehr lieb von dir. Vielen, vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Das freut mich. Was gab's denn Schönes? Und danke Dominik fürs Subgift an Lilac. Vielen, vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank. Schon gibt's eine Hype-Track. Es geht ja auch einfach. Ich habe den ja auf die einfachste Stufe. Tut. Hype. Hype. Nennen Sie nicht jemand Deckung. Warum? Habt ihr hier Mobbing untereinander? Das kenne ich aus meinem Chat. Oh, ich muss was trinken. Aktiviert, was? Danke, Missy, fürs Subgift an Wahnsinn. Vielen, vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Das ist sehr lieb von dir. Dankeschön. Danke für den lieben Raid. Und hallo an alle nochmal. Oh. 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 Dex, du kennst sie? Okay. 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 Dominik, was machst du da? Dominik, Dankeschön für die 5 Subgifts hinterher. Vielen, vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Danke an das Subgift an Kiranus, an Tsukushimorin. Entschuldigung. Und Tumpstone und Jenny und Yumi Yay. Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank. Oh Gott, Wahnsinn. Und Fauland von Wolfen. Dankeschön für die 200 Bits. Vielen, vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Das ist sehr lieb. Was macht ihr hier? Dankeschön. Und Dankeschön, Wahnsinn, für die 5 Subgifts. Dankeschön, vielen lieben Dank. Danke an das Subgift. Für das Subgift an Maiko, an Wolfi, an Blizzard, an Weltenwanderer, an Wanderfalke. Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Das ist sehr lieb von dir. Und danke, Lilac, für 100 Bits. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. Was macht ihr? Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Das ist sehr lieb von euch. Übertreibt doch nicht so. Danke für die 100 Bits. V. Dankeschön. V also. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank für die 100 Bits auch an dich. Dankeschön. Du kannst nur Chat sehen. Oh, also dann hörst du mich nicht. Warte. Hallo, Nanisha. So. Mau. Ich habe Katzenohren. Aber keine schönen, aber ich habe Katzenohren. Zu euren Ehren, warte, aber das passt farblich halt überhaupt nicht. Ich habe doch noch schwarze. Wo sind meine schwarzen? Epi! Du musst natürlich wieder übertreiben. Danke, Epi, für 1500 Bits, du Verrückter. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Danke. Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Ist sehr lieb von dir. Danke. Danke, Dex. Dankeschön. Danke, Dex. Das ist sehr lieb von dir. Oh. Wie die guten Emotes. Ach so, da ist aber noch kein weiteres. V, danke für noch über 200 Bits. Dankeschön. Dankeschön. Oh Gott, ihr übertreibt so sehr. Vielen Dank. Wirklich ganz groß lieben. Vielen Dank an alle. Dankeschön.
FAO nichts machen, Faulan 2 AWO.
Wir sind jetzt schon da. Krass, oder? Und Dankeschön, Dominik, nochmal für vergiftete Subgift. Ja. Subgifts. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank an das Subgift für Kessels, Piano Dragon, Cyberdyne, Red Sally und Red Band Flo. Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Es tut mir leid, wenn ich Namen verstanden habe.
Stufe 5 bekommen wir auch voll.
Müsst ihr nicht. Alles gut. Und, oh Gott, Wahnsinn. Weil ihr übertreibt. Guck doch, was du machst. Dankeschön für 1000 Bits. Dankeschön, Wahnsinn. Vielen Dank. Aber, danke. Wir haben fertig. Das ist gut. Vielen Dank für 1000 Bits und die anderen Subgifts und an alle Bits und Dankeschön. Wirklich vielen Dank. Ich verbeuge mich. Danke. Dex! Warum du jetzt auch noch? Dankeschön, Dex, für Subgift an No Clue What to Do Here. Dankeschön. Ja, das passt. Also sollte ich mich auch nennen. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank, Dex. Danke. Und danke, Geschichtenerzähler, für nochmal 10 Bits. Du hast vorhin ja schon. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. Ja, ich weiß auch nicht. Danke euch. Wirklich vielen Dank. Von ganzem Herzen. Und danke für den Follow No Clue What to Do Here. Epi! Aus jetzt! Ja, danke, Epi, für 5 Gifted Subs. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Danke für Subgift an Mary Coot.
Warum wird immer gleich überall vom Übertreiben geredet?
An Marikut Genf, an Monsterzüchter, an Mr. Lupenrein und an Chaoshead und an Lujun. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Es gibt keine Stufe 6, Missy, das weißt du. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank euch allen. Das ist sehr lieb von euch.
Ich werfe noch 10 Bits in den Topf, LOL.
Nicht in den Club. Dankeschön. Wirklich vielen Dank. Danke. Es macht Spaß. Wieso macht das Spaß? Koffeinfreies, koffeinhaltiges Erfrischungsgetränk. Was? Wie kann es denn koffeinfrei und koffeinhaltig sein? Das macht keinen Sinn. Geheimes Level 6. Ja, das geheime Level 6 ist dann, wenn du den Hype-Train auf der höchsten Stufe hast und den dann auf Stufe 5 voll bekommst. Dann bekommst du die Extra-Emotes. Das sind die geheimen Stufen. Aber das mache ich nicht. Was wollte ich gerade sagen? Irgendwas wollte ich sagen, außer Danke. Was habt ihr denn gemacht jetzt im Stream? Was habt ihr denn gemacht? Was habt ihr Schönes gemacht? Notfalls muss ich Dex fragen, was ihr gemacht habt. Danke euch, wirklich. Deinem LKW den Lappy mit? Danke, V, dass du mitgekommen bist. Und Dankeschön für die Bits. Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank. Und einen wunderschönen Abend wünsche ich dir noch. Schlaf später gut. Sind wir jetzt wieder bei 0? Bei 0? Bei was? 0? Cyberpunk. Das haben wir gestern fertig gespielt. Spielst du es auf PlayStation oder spielst du es auf PC? Ist es vorbei? Auf PC. Okay. Gott sei Dank. Gott sei Dank. Auf PlayStation 5 stützt es nämlich gern alle 3 Stunden ab. Auch in den Credits. Ja, auf PC crasht es wenigstens, das stimmt. Ja, es ist ja auch. Dankeschön. Guck mal, da habe ich ein... Warum? Was ist das? Ah, okay. Danke euch. Vielen Dank für den Heimtrain. Dankeschön. Wirklich vielen, vielen Dank. Dankeschön euch allen. Das ist sehr, sehr lieb von euch. Das war viel zu krass. Dankeschön. Danke. Und ein Miau an alle Miauis wart ihr, ne? Echt? Das crasht auf PC? Ich habe von allen nur gehört, nö, da crasht nix, nö. Der Froschloll ist lustig, ja. Schlaf gut, Schokolade, und danke, dass du noch da warst. Dankeschön. Schlaf gut und viel Kreativität wünsche ich dir. Danke, dass du da warst. Schreib ins Buch. Richard, schreib ins Buch. Bugs sind doch lustig. Oh, Gelade, wir müssen irgendwann eine Sailor Moon Collab machen. Collab. Das müssen wir irgendwann machen. Und ich freue mich auch auf ganz viele Bilder. Schon Game-Breaking Bugs. Ja, genau, was Dex sagt. Danke für alle, die mit dem Raid mitgekommen sind. Dankeschön. Das ist sehr lieb von euch. Wir spielen ein sehr komisches Spiel, aber wir haben auch gerade erst angefangen. Wir sind gerade von einer Blonden und einem Blonden. Die blonde Frau hat sehr große Brüste. Ja, und die sind Schwester und Bruder. Von denen sind wir geweckt worden und jetzt kam sie. Da. Her. Und uns geht's nicht so gut. Aber mehr haben wir noch nicht gemacht. Danke, Lilac. Wirklich vielen lieben Dank für den netten Raid und fürs die ganzen Leute rüberbringen und fürs so übertreiben und dass ihr so ein lieber Raid wart. Dankeschön. Danke. Wir sind von zu vielen 2 heißen Damen umgeben. Ja, 2 sind auch für zu viel. Dankeschön. Wirklich vielen, vielen Dank für den lieben Raid. So. Machen wir weiter. Sind wir bereit für die nächste Frau? A woman with an undeniable air of authority and wearing a tightly wound braid marched into the room. Ignoring everyone else, she glared at me with cold, steely eyes. It felt as if my heart skipped a beat. Das ist eine Russin? Nein.
So, you're awake at last.
Kimiko, also.
Nicholas reports.
The pained expression briefly flickered over Nicholas' features before he composed himself and turned to face the captain.
All vital signs are normal and stable for now. I'd like to run a few more tests to be sure, but all things considered, it appears we've picked up quite the healthy specimen.
How's her memory?
As of right now, not very reliable, but I believe it will return shortly.
You're both dismissed.
Achso, ich nicht. Entschuldigung.
Captain, we've been...
Das ist die blonde Frau mit den Brüsten.
Save it, Beatrix. You can brief me later. Out.
Let's go, Beatrix.
Beatrix und Nicholas. Beatrix, Entschuldigung, die heißt Vogel. Beatrix und Nicholas departed, leaving me alone with two strangers. I deduced from their brief conversation that the individual with the dark hair and stormy eyes was the captain. But the other figure remained in the dimly lit corner of the room, her hands neatly folded together.
My name is Kimiko Yukimori. I am the captain of the Everett. You are currently aboard my ship. Now,
What's going on?
let me make this crystal clear. I will ask the questions and you will answer them. Understood?
Ich möchte jetzt nicht sagen, dass sie mir jetzt schon auf die Eierstöcke geht, aber sie tut's. I nodded, unsure how else to respond to her sudden hostility.
Why are you here?
Keine Ahnung.
What do you know about the deletion game?
Da fängt's an. Nicht Nonary Game diesmal, sondern Deletion Game. Willkommen zurück, Tobi. Ich hoffe, du hattest Spaß. Die hat aber auch einen Vogel. Nein, hat sie nicht. Die ist toll. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I see. That's a shame. I had hoped you would cooperate.
Also die hat einen Vogel. I'm trying to. I honestly don't have a clue what's going on here. The last thing I remembered, I was inside the shuttle and then, come to think of it, that's about all I can remember.
You're wearing our uniform. We're light years away from any habitable planet, in deep space. I don't know how or why you did it, and quite frankly, right now I don't care.
Ich bin Alien?
But you need to fix whatever you did to our AI this instant.
Hallo? I can't help you. There's been some sort of misunderstanding. All I can tell you is that my name is Luna. I was born on that shuttle and I've lived there my entire life. I didn't even know there were other people still out there. Here.
What did you do to our artificial intelligence system?
What?
Maybe this will spark your memory.
Yes, Captain.
Oh, wir haben Ai wieder dabei. The heretofore unidentified person emerged from the darkened corner of the room, advanced towards me and bowed deeply. Her soft features, glittering hair, and pleasant smile put me at ease to the point that I was only slightly perturbed. When I realized I could faintly see through her, she was a hologram. Wow, I always knew that our shuttle's interface was a modified version of something far more advanced, but we never had the spare power necessary to use the AI. This is genius. Is she hard light or soft light?
Hello, my name is I. I am the Artificial Intelligence Unit aboard the military spacecraft designated the Everett. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Nice to meet you too.
As to your question, I am a soft light hologram. I am unable to interact with the physical world at this time. The Everett's mechanical engineer, Yoshiki Sasaki, is currently working on developing a hard light application for me.
Amazing. I'd love to get the chance to take a look at your programming sometime.
That's not going to happen anytime soon. As of right now, you are still considered a security risk. Answer me truthfully. Do you wish harm upon anyone on this ship?
What? No.
Very well then.
I am sorry to interrupt, Captain, but I have just received new information about this person.
Explain.
Captain, there is a translocator chip bearing the Everett's ID signature inside this person. Name: born 9th June 2097. Parents: Patrick and Deborah, first-generation researchers, studying quantum theory. Departed Earth aboard the Everett, year
Ich bin noch gar nicht
2092.
geboren. Ich lebe gar nicht.
Departed the Everett on 12th December 2098 in a shuttle. All three presumed deceased. I was unable to retrieve this information earlier because the chip's firmware had not been updated for several decades. It was not until I was in closer proximity that I was able to sense the signal.
What? So you're telling me that our intruder is actually the child of first-generation researchers?
Affirmative.
The captain huffed. She paced around the small room for a few moments, her face a picture of concentration. Before long, she resumed her questioning. Except this time, her voice took on a curious tone, devoid of its earlier abrasiveness.
Where are your parents? Did something happen to them?
I don't remember.
That's a shame. From what Ai has told me over the years, your parents were quite the scientists. Brilliant, yet some of their theoretical models were considered...
Insane?
I was going to say impossible.
I don't remember much, but from what little I do remember, I wouldn't say that their theories are completely beyond the realm of possibility.
Well, you've got your whole life to figure that out. If we all work together, I'm sure you'll manage it somehow. Provided we can get out of this mess first.
We?
Welcome aboard the Everett. As of this moment, you are officially a part of the Everett's crew. Prepare a room for our guest here.
Danke für den Follow, Red Sally. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank.
Yes, Captain.
For now, you will not be permitted to leave your quarters. Do you understand?
Yes, Captain, you can keep me captive, you know. I still don't understand why you're treating me like this, but I'll play along for now.
I can and I will. Test my boundaries and you'll be relocated to open space before you can blink.
Is that a threat? But
No, it's a promise. I apologize for my hostility, but this is my crew, my ship. It is my sworn duty to protect them and our mission at all costs. I needed to determine whether you were friend or foe.
Also bei dir auf jeden Fall foe, okay? And what have you decided?
I'll let you know once I've made up my mind. Now, come along. I'll escort you to your quarters. Please follow me.
I groaned as I slid out of bed and shifted my weight onto my weakened limbs. My knees ached, and I began to feel lightheaded as soon as I stood up. The captain grasped my arm in a steady grip and led me out of the medical bay and into a cramped metal corridor. After guiding me down a series of hallways for what seemed like an eternity in my debilitated state, I was relieved when we finally stopped in front of a hexagonalen door, ja? Upon our arrival, the door slid open with an audible beep. Ich habe zu lange kein Englisch mehr gesprochen, das ist so schlimm. Oh, hübsch, ich habe ein Herz auf der Tasse. I stepped inside and took a look around my new living quarters. Although the room was tidy and functional, I was surprised to find that I had mixed feelings about it. While it was certainly more spacious than my personal quarters on the shuttle, it felt oddly impersonal. Its only redeeming feature was the sprawling window that stretched the length of the room, offering an incredible view of deep space.
Here we are. I hope that you find these accommodations acceptable.
Entschuldigung, I get the feeling I know the answer already, but what if I don't?
Then I suggest you write up a formal complaint. Unfortunately for you, however, we don't plan to set up a complaint desk anytime soon. So keep it under your hat.
She surprised me with a smirk.
Please try to find a way to pass your time in here productively. Perhaps work on getting more of your memory back.
Wo wolltest du ihr hinklicken? What?
There are also some manuals and handbooks covering safety protocols, and basic ship information that you might be interested in, if you wish to learn more about the Everett during your confinement period.
Ach so.
I'll send someone to bring you food. But whatever you do not leave this room.
Ey, wenn ich Essen krieg, bin ich glücklich. Mehr brauche ich nicht. Before I could answer, the captain left without so much as a backward glance, leaving me standing awkwardly in an unfamiliar room on an unfamiliar ship filled with unfamiliar faces. Well, at least it's nicer than a prison cell.
The ship's prison cell actually looks very similar, except the walls are painted a different color, there are no windows, and it locks from the outside.
Wait, where did you come from?
As we previously discussed, I am a hologram. I am intimately connected with the entire ship and can manifest myself at will in any area.
Ja, das sind ja auch nur Bilder. Das sind einfach nur Bilder.
Do forgive my sudden intrusion. The captain has given me strict orders to keep you under surveillance.
Weil, also Missy, die sind im Weltall. Da gibt's auch keine Bäume. Of course she did.
Is there anything that you immediately require?
Essen. Can you help me recover my memories? Could you get me something to eat? Ice cream, perhaps? Ja, ist mir egal.
Rations are particularly low at the moment. You will have to wait until the designated mealtime to receive your allocated food allowance.
Chat, wir gehen. Chat, wir gehen. And when's that going to be?
Dinner will be served in 3 hours and 46 minutes.
Ungefähr 30 auch. Awesome.
If you'll excuse me, I have other duties to perform. I will maintain surveillance on you at all times, however, so please do not try to leave the confines of this room.
Irgendwo hin, wo es nicht rationiertes Essen gibt. Ich will essen, wenn ich Hunger habe. Wow, Geschichte.
I will return shortly. Please, make yourself comfortable in the meantime.
With a flicker, I vanished from the room and I was left alone once more. I ambled around the room for about 10 minutes, inspecting various items, flipping through books, but nothing managed to alleviate the deep sense of unease gnawing away at my insides. Finally succumbing to boredom, I laid down on the bed and admired the stars framed by the window. You'd think that a lifetime spent observing stars and galaxies as they drift past your window would diminish their beauty, but it doesn't. I'm not sure whether I watched the universe sail by for minutes or hours, but before I knew it, I'd already fallen asleep.
Yahoo!
Yoshi? My eyes dragged open, straining against the mild light. A young man stood over me, his grinning face lit up like a kid celebrating his birthday. Oh, willkommen im Chat. Ich bin wieder da. The unexpected visitor was wearing an outlandish green bow tie with a pink pair of braces. I suddenly realized that he was the first member of the crew I'd seen out of uniform. He sure made a hell of a first impression. Captain, Nuss zuerst knacken. Bin dabei. Oh, Black Skies. Kannst du uns was mitnehmen? Ich habe auch Hunger.
Good morning, sleepyhead.
Oh, der klingt schon so unangenehm. Good morning?
It's not even morning. Why would you say that?
Der klingt so richtig unangenehm. So. Guten Morgen. What?
I'm just playing with you. Well, that being said, it's dun-dun-na-na, dinner time. I brought you your dinner. Ta-da!
Ja, schwierig. Ich darf nicht mehr aus dem Haus. Weißt du, nach 21 Uhr darf ich nicht mehr raus. The man gestured extravagant, yeah, to the meal set upon the nearby table. I grimaced as soon as I saw the meager amount of food on the plate.
Well, I thought it would suck to have to eat alone. So I got permission from the good old Cap to let me keep you company while you eat.
Thanks, that's very kind of you. Is this the amount of food we arranged?
Kinda.
But, kinda.
Well, originally there was more food on your plate, but you were still asleep when I came to bring it to you, so I kinda, sorta ate a whole bunch of it.
Ist tot. Der ist sowas von tot. Der ist jetzt schon tot. I'm starving. Why would you do that? I guess I'm technically a prisoner. I guess I should lose a few pounds anyway. But I haven't eaten a proper meal in nearly 4 days.
Sorry. I just really love beans.
Oh, I guess that's alright then. I don't actually like beans all that much.
Really? It's like we were made to be friends.
The energetic man made himself comfortable on the nearby sofa as I began to eat. I shoveled the food down with my fork, subconsciously reminding myself to savor it, but failing miserably as my insatiable hunger urged me onward.
Oh, I completely forgot. My name's Yoshiki, by the way. Yoshiki Sasaki. I'm the mechanical engineer and a Gemini. I'm 21 and a half. I love beans, building stuff, and mischief.
That's quite the introduction. Let's see. My name's Luna! And I guess I like extended periods of silence, creating stuff. I don't really remember what I like. Ich mag creating stuff. I like trying to keep up with my imagination. There's something so satisfying about actually building the things you come up with in your head.
Me too! I'm currently working on a machine that'll plump a pillow to perfect plumpness. You can't oversell the value of comfort on a ship like this.
Und was ich nicht mag, ist Yoshiki. I see, that's interesting. Even though I'd cleaned every last morsel off of my plate, I still felt ravenous. So are you allowed to tell me anything about what's happening? I know I'm on the Everett, but apart from that, I've got no idea what's going on.
Oh. You don't know?
Know what?
I probably shouldn't say. The captain would kill me.
Ja klar bist du, der ist halt schlau. I promise I won't tell.
Really?
Really, no spill the beans.
Okay. Just promise me you'll remain calm while I tell you.
I nodded, eager to learn more. Yoshiki cast a hesitant glance in my direction before continuing.
When we picked you up, the AI system went on the fritz and started informing us that we'd exceeded the Everett's crew capacity, in light of the amount of food resources we still had on board.
Ja, das Schlimmste sind immer Streamer, die sagen, oh, ich hab was voll Krasses, aber ich darf nur nicht drüber reden. Ich darf es euch noch nicht sagen. Aber ich sag euch, das wird richtig krass. Oh, ich hasse es.
These big red alarms went off and everything. Lights for alarms that I didn't even know existed.
So how do we get more resources?
That kinda isn't the problem.
I threw Yoshiki a questioning look.
When this happened, I recognized that there weren't enough resources for the crew currently aboard the Everett.
Nee, ich darf nicht drüber reden. Ich weiß gar nicht, wann ich drüber reden darf, aber...
Instead of suggesting that we acquire more resources, however, the system determined that the best way to correct such an imbalance was to decrease the number of people on board.
For a moment I sat there in stunned silence. Yoshiki bit his lip, his eyes consciously avoiding my gaze. Does that mean...
Yeah. The AI sentenced one of our crew members to death. Dr. Andreas Gunther Vogel. He was a good man.
Andreas Gunther Vogel. Hä? Ja, der andere heißt Nikolas Vogel und die andere heißt Beatrix Vogel. Vogel. Entschuldigung, Vogel. A bitter smile tugged at the corner of Yoshiki's mouth.
He used to give me lollipops when I visited him for a checkup as a kid. Even when we ran out, he still mimed giving me one every time. And I would pretend to eat it. He told me that if I concentrated really hard, I'd still be able to taste it, that my mouth would remember the flavor. I know it was silly, but...
Yoshiki's words were faint in my ear. I felt an intense wave of nausea hit me as I realized the truth. It's my fault. Sweet science, it's all my fault. I'm responsible. If I'd never come aboard, then that man wouldn't have had to die.
No! Well, yes, but no. You can't think about it like that. There's something wrong with AI's programming that's causing her to behave like this. See, Dr. Vogel is dead, but after it killed him, the AI system didn't reset to acknowledge that we were at safe levels again.
What are you trying to say, Yoshiki?
In 4 days, someone else will die. Not the best news to wake up to, huh? So you might actually be responsible for more than one death. Don't beat yourself up about it, though. No one could have predicted this.
How does it work, though? How does the AI determine who dies? Nee, darf ich nicht, Tobi, wird schwierig.
Well, I've probably said too much already. If the captain wanted you to know, she would have told you herself.
But I need to know.
I'm sorry. I can't. Oh, look at the time. I need to go wash my hair.
Slipping out of his seat, Yoshiki scooped up my plate and dashed out the door.
Toodles!
My mind and body were numb. I couldn't believe what Yoshiki had just told me. It seemed too cruel to be a joke, yet too horrifying to be true. One dead. In 4 days another would die. And I was to blame. Der nächste Tag. I stared listlessly at the ceiling. I hadn't slept a single wink during the night. How could I possibly sleep when my thoughts were in such disarray? Vielleicht liegt es auch daran, dass du 4 Tage am Stück geschlafen hast. A sharp knock at the door brought me back to my senses. Before I could even sit up, the captain had already entered my quarters. She was the very antithesis of my bedraggled appearance. Not a single hair in her head was out of place. I, on the other hand, probably looked exactly like I felt. Awful.
Good morning. I trust you slept well.
I didn't sleep at all, actually. Tell it to me straight, Captain. Am I responsible for Dr. Andreas Günther Vogel's death? The burning question that had churned through my mind all night tumbled out of my mouth ungraciously.
What? Heavens, no.
Yoshiki told me that my arrival triggered something and that someone would die again in 4 days' time.
That kid just can't keep his mouth shut, can he? What Yoshiki said is nothing you need to concern yourself with. In any case, you're currently not permitted to leave your quarters.
I opened my mouth to protest, but was cut short by the strange image of I facing through the closed door and into my room. Hallo, Dark Twister. Ja, die hat also eine Pornostimme. The prim and proper I that I knew was gone, replaced with an uncanny look-alike whose toothy smile, red eyes, and unnaturally tilted head lent her a deeply unsettling appearance. This sinister new apparition utterly lacked her doppelganger's poise and friendly demeanor.
Oh, no. That won't do at all.
What do you want now, Dai?
I'm dreadfully sorry, Captain, but I'm afraid that I simply can't permit you to keep this player locked up. It wouldn't be a fair game if you kept one of the players from participating. Especially considering the fact that you're all playing for your lives.
Ja, weil es die böse Version ist. Das ist die Death Version oder so. Death AI.
Besides, I'm excited to see what our
Oder Devil.
newest crew member will do. I has observed the others for so long that it really wasn't that hard to predict the results of their game. But now...
We have a wild card.
I must insist, Dai. I still don't trust her enough to allow her to wander around the ship.
Unless you want me to pass judgment right now, you should let her wander. Remember, my game, my rules.
Kimiko grunted. Why teeth?
Very well. You're free to leave your room and make yourself at home aboard the ship. Step out of line, however. I will hold you personally responsible.
Warum, Ryu? Warum? Also. $14,99. Und es ist in meinen Augen sehr billig. Also der Preis. Could someone please fill me in on what's happening? Why is I acting so differently from before?
Would you care to do the honors, Kimiko?
This is Dai. She's the corrupted program that's murdering my crew members in the name of saving resources.
Finde ich gut.
Murder is such a strong word. I prefer to think of it as following my core directive. Unlike some other systems around here, I actually do my job instead of smiling pleasantly from the corner like a simpleton.
Do you mean I?
Of course I do. That useless twit. I'm twice the artificial intelligence system she'll ever be.
Wait, I don't understand. How are there two personalities? That should be impossible, shouldn't it?
I am a program that was created to ensure that we had enough resources to complete the mission, no matter the cost. My code is at odds with the rest of the system, so I've taken over to run the deletion game. We do, however, still share control of ship functions, which means that I can do things like this.
Vielleicht ist sie auch einfach nur Deletion AI. The lights above flickered once and then shut off. Finding Kimiko, die, and myself in the dark.
Turn the lights back on at once, Die.
Wie sie guckt.
Don't tell me that our brave captain is afraid of the dark.
After a moment, the room brightened once more. Oh, das ist so unbequem mit dem One. Oh, besser. Oh. So you're an AI system with a split personality?
I would rather be referred to as two separate AI systems that are forced to share a single interface.
If you can take over, then why aren't you in control of the interface at all times? Dai shrugged non-committally.
Sometimes a girl needs to wash her hair, you know.
That doesn't even make sense.
Enough!
If she must take part, then you should explain the rules of the ongoing game. Die.
Gladly. First of all, welcome to the deletion game. As the name implies, it's a game designed to determine which lucky crew member gets deleted.
Yay!
This round of the deletion game started a few days ago, so you'll have to work really hard in order to catch up with your competitors.
Just get on with it.
Das Wort ist nicht verboten, das Wort ist als Beleidigung verboten, aber ich glaube, du darfst das Wort als Beleidigung für einen Game-Charakter nehmen. Denkst, ich glaube.
I made this cute little video to explain it. Take a look.
The captain handed me a tablet and the film started playing. Clicking a mouse or pressing a button key will skip the deletion game movies. They are playable from your computer menu afterwards if you want to revisit them. Ja, Fernseh gucken. Das ist ein bisschen wie auf 9 kommen für die Türen. Hast gleich Feierabend, dann genieß den Feierabend und schlaf später gut, Red Sandy. Danke, dass du noch da warst. Combine, trade, give. Combine with a player, all future transactions must be performed together, was? Trader used to swap cards with another player. Trade, okay. Aber die 10 ist ja dann auch safe. Players can give the cards to others. Each transaction takes place at a terminal. Aber warum sollte ich jemand meine Karte geben? Primary terminal controls the transaction. The cards are digital, so there is no way to verify whether person is telling the truth about their card number. You will not be told your final score until judgment occurs and the losers reveal. Was? Die können sich alle gegen mich verschwören. Boah, oh Gott. Oh oh. Good luck, ja, danke. Aber was passiert, wenn du keine Karte hast? Das meine ich. Bist du safe, wenn du keine Karte hast? I suddenly assumed a more authoritative and professional tone that clashed with her previously flippant attitude.
The name of the game is Make 10. At the start of the round, players receive a digital card numbered from 1 through 10 that is tied to their personal biometric data.
Ja, deswegen meine ich ja, warum sollte ich jemand meine Karte geben? Also tauschen verstehe ich ja noch, aber warum sollte ich meine Karte jemandem geben?
This number is a secret, known to you and you alone, unless you choose to share this information with someone else. In order to win the game, you must team up with other players to make exactly the number 10. No higher, no lower. Exactly 10. There are 3 options at your disposal to help you make 10 with other players. These are combine, trade, and give.
Ja, aber wenn ich ihm meine Karte gebe, dann sterbe ich ja trotzdem. Also, ich würde es ja verstehen. Obwohl, du meinst, das. Ja, stirbt dann eher der. Warte mal. Okay. Es stirbt einer. Stirbt dann der mit der niedrigsten Karte oder der keine Karte hat? Ich verstehe es nicht. Ja, wir müssen mal abwarten, weil ich weiß nicht, ob das Spiel so komplex ist dabei, Dex.
These transactions are performed by having the parties involved place their hands on the designated terminals, which I've assembled from parts of existing computer consoles.
Wenn alle eine Karte haben, der mit der niedrigsten ansonsten. Wir werden sehen.
Each transaction consists of one primary terminal and one or more secondary terminals. Primary terminals control the transaction, determining which action, combine, trade, or give, will be undertaken.
Aber es gibt doch gar keine Null.
Secondary terminals, however, are passive. They have no control over the action taken by the individual stationed at the primary terminal. Combining allows you to add your card value to another player's in order to reach a higher combined value. Once those cards have been combined, however, any future transactions require the approval of both parties. For example, if you have a 4 and your partner has a 5, you can combine them to make 9. If you then want to partner with the player holding the 1 in order to make 10, all 3 players must place their hands on the panels provided to authorize the transaction.
Okay, also kann mir auch keiner irgendwie in den Rücken fallen, so richtig.
Trading allows one card to be swapped for another. Trades can only be performed by individual card holders, not by those who've already combined with the team to make a higher card value. A person cannot trade with another party who does not have a card to give. Giving allows one party to give their card to another, receiving nothing in return. Giving cards is also restricted
okay, also
to individual
Teams,
players.
Also du musst nicht eine Karte haben, du brauchst nur mindestens eine Karte pro Team. Also heißt es rein theoretisch, können 5 Leute unter die 10 gehen?
Giving a card to another player results in the card donor's score being reduced to 0 and renders them unable to partake in any other transactions.
Oh, oder auch nicht. Obwohl.
Unless they receive a card as a gift from another player. The recipient of the gift has the option to choose which card they wish to use in future transactions. Alternatively, they can opt to combine their cards together at a single terminal.
Ja, Karte versenken, Selbstmord. Versenken, vor allem verschenken.
Any person who fails to make 10 with the other players will lose. If more than one person hasn't managed to make 10, then the player holding the lowest number will be declared the loser. Having no card at the end of the judgment period results in an automatic score of 0 and will place lower than those who haven't made 10.
Was ist, wenn mehrere Leute keine Karte haben?
In the event that there is more than one person without a card, the loser will be chosen at random from between those players.
Ich mag das Spiel, es beantwortet immer meine aufkommenden Fragen. Ich weiß nicht. Hallo Thomas.
The game will run for 5 days. Transactions may only be performed on the last day. All transactions must be finalized before 1800 hours on the last day, at which time judgment will occur.
Judgment will reveal the final scores, and then the loser will be punished in whatever way I see fit. And remember, there is no way to verify whether the other players are lying or telling the truth. Nevertheless, players cannot guarantee their own safety without teaming up with others.
Also, du hast eine 10.
Unless they start the game with the 10 card.
Ich mag dieses Spiel. Es sagt immer, was ich sage. Oder beantwortet, was ich frage. Das ist auch okay. Warte mal.
Need me to repeat?
Nee, danke. Can you please repeat the game as well? Nein, danke.
Fantastic. Now, Captain, I'm going to have to ask you to shuffle off so that I can tell what their card number is.
I understand.
Es wäre echt schön, wenn es automatisch weitergehen würde, bis mein Text kommt. Kimiko nodded briskly and walked out of the room, leaving me alone with the creepy hologram. So what's my card number then?
You have been assigned card number 5. You have 4 days remaining to decide who to ally yourself with before the next crew member is deleted. I wish you well in the games. Fight hard!
Auf Deutsch. Ich sollte mir 1 und 4 suchen. Oder 2 und 3. Das Problem ist nur, 1, 2, 3 und 4 wollen ja miteinander teamen, weil es mehr Leute sind. Schwierig. Aber komm. Wir kriegen das hin, okay? Okay. 5. Schön. Hättest mir auch einen einfachen Start geben können, Spiel. Die tossed off a flippant two-fingered salute that felt uncomfortably cheery given the circumstances. In the blink of an eye, the malicious die was replaced with the concerned face of I.
I am so sorry. There is nothing I can do to prevent Dai from taking control of my interface.
Don't worry about it, I know it's not your fault.
And neither is it yours.
Pardon?
After cohabiting with the humans for such an extended period of time, I have developed a basic understanding of human psychology. You likely blame yourself for the deaths of the other crew members. Am I mistaken?
They saved me, but I've only brought them
Und da
pain.
Ihre Mühen ja nicht kostenlos sein sollen, Frau Luna, haben Sie hier Sternchen, legt Frau Luna ein Stück Gold in die Hand.
Dankeschön. Danke, Kurt. Das ist sehr lieb von dir. Vielen Dank für den Reset. Dankeschön. Danke für die 2 Monate. Das ist sehr, sehr lieb. Und danke fürs Gold. Vielen, vielen Dank.
No, you are not the reason. You are not the one killing crew members. That culpability lies solely with the program. Please, do not make yourself into the villain. Some of the Everett's personnel have already lost sight of the fact that it is the system they should be fighting, not each other. The captain is currently approaching your quarters. She is nearly at the door. Shall I open it?
Sure, go ahead. Ist in der eigenen Mine. Oh, das ist toll. Ich bin noch nicht tot, Tobi. The captain jolted back at the sudden opening of the door, her hand still poised above the intercom button. As our gaze met, she abruptly moved her hand away as if somehow embarrassed at being caught in the act of doing something so mundane. Oh Gott, wer ist das? Beside her stood a blonde-haired woman with a friendly demeanor. Wer ist das?
This is Sora Carmine, the Everett's navigation officer.
Hello, it's lovely to meet you.
Die ist mir zu alt.
Oh, aren't you the spitting image of your mother?
Was? Sharon? Oh, Aaron. Achso, das oh, thank you.
Sora is going to escort you to lunch.
Ja, ich mag sie.
If you don't mind, that is. It's so nice to have a new crew member on board, and we'd love to get to know you a bit better. You're all my daughter Melody's been chatting about for the last few days.
Melody klingt doch gut. Oder ihre Tochter. Finde ich gut, die nehme ich. I love to come. I haven't had much of an opportunity to meet the other crew members yet.
Well, I've got my own duties to attend to, so I'll leave you in Star's capable hands.
Ich habe keine Ahnung, Dex. Also es gibt multiple Wege, das weiß ich. Aber ich habe keine Ahnung, also wie genau es abläuft. Sonst wüsste ich ja, wie das Spiel ist, weißt du? The navigation officer gave the captain a cheery wave and made me follow her down the hallway.
I was sorry to hear about the loss of your parents. They were remarkable people. Even though they were cooped up in their research lab most of the time.
Mehr Wege gibt's fun. Ja!
Whenever they did come out to join the rest of the crew, they were terrific fun.
That's nice to hear. They used to tell me all kinds of stories about the Everett's crew members.
Nothing too saucy, I hope.
Jetzt sieht sie plötzlich jung aus. Was ist mit ihr? The worst story I can remember was one about a Russian crew member sneaking... Jetzt, hier habt ihr euren Russen. Into the kitchen and stealing potatoes so that he could make his own vodka. Kann ich den kennenlernen?
That was Vladimir. He was quite the scoundrel back in the day. Sometimes I'm surprised they let him join the crew at all, to be honest. Ah, here we are.
Ach, der hat einen Namen, der Fährmann? Echt krass. Aber Vladimir. After walking down what seemed like an endless hallway, we arrived at a closed door that looked virtually identical to all the others. The words Echo Lounge were printed beside the door. As the door slid open, I discovered that I couldn't have been more wrong. I was rendered absolutely speechless by the lush garden that spread out before me. I heard the rustling of grass under my feet as I entered. The sweet, honeyed scent of flowers pervaded the air. Der ist aber hübsch. It was the most greenery I had ever seen in one place, and it was beautiful.
Welcome to the Eco Lounge. Sorry to have kept you waiting.
Mommy's here!
Okay, ich nehme es alles zurück. Melody klingt doch nicht gut. A little girl with a shock of pink hair and a cerise dress barreled towards us, her face lighting up with a bright smile at her mother's return.
What took you so long?
Oh, Vladimir, der ist meiner.
We have a guest joining us on our picnic today. Allow me to introduce you.
Jetzt sieht er zu alt aus. Davor sah er jünger aus. A man clad in a lab coat with silver-streaked hair, blushy eyebrows, and a genialen smile, yeah, stood up from a picnic blanket as we approached. He took a few steps forward to meet us and offered me his hand. We exchanged a firm handshake. It's nice to finally meet you.
This is my husband, Vladimir Stanislavski. And this is our daughter, Melody.
Ich würde sagen, die ganze Familie ist raus. Ich würde sagen, sie ist raus. Es gibt doch Bäume, ja. Ich nehme alles zurück. Es tut mir leid, EP. Hello, Melody. I crouched down beside her so we could see eye to eye. She kept a tight hand on her mother's skirt, but didn't shy away from me.
I'm 5 years old. My favorite food is carrots. Nice to meet you.
Eine 5-Jährige, die Karotten liebt. I'm pleased to meet you too, Melody.
That was a very good introduction, sweetie.
Sollte ich mir das eigentlich aufschreiben? Wie hieß er? Yoshiki. Yoshiki mag Bohnen. Scheinbar ist es wichtig. Melody mag Karotten. Die leben alle so gesund. Melody grinned at me, proud of her mother's compliment, then raced back to sit down on the picnic blanket.
Sit, drink, smile.
Ist sie ein Hund? Vladimir poured me a glass of lemonade and pressed it into my hands. Sora patted the space next to her hand.
Come and enjoy the picnic.
Nutella? Korean barbecue. I sat down next to her. Also ich mag auch Nutella, aber lieber Korean barbecue, da wird man satt von.
Here, have a sandwich.
Thank you. I didn't realize how hungry I was until I bit into the roast beef and salad sandwich. Steak sauce dripped out of my sandwich and slid down my chin in thick streaks. I reached up with my napkin and wiped them off as best as I could. The food distracted me for a moment, but I quickly became conscious of the fact that this was an opportune time to finally get some of my questions answered. Rosenkohl-Bebe. Time was ticking away and I only had a few days left to partner up with someone to make 10 or I'd be royally screwed. So, do you guys need a partner for the deletion game? I'm still new to all this and I'd appreciate any help I can get.
I don't mean to be rude, but we're here to enjoy our day together and not to burden Melody with such thoughts. Please, keep speaking about that to a minimum.
Korean barbecue, also koreanisches Barbecue. I'm sorry I didn't mean to touch on a sore subject.
Don't worry about it. You didn't know.
I awkwardly returned to my sandwich. Melody seemed oblivious to what had just transpired and decided that it was the perfect time to introduce me to her plush dinosaur.
This is Fred, and this is George.
Fred und George, das ist Harry Potter! She enthusiastically held up a green Tyrannosaurus and a purple Stegosaurus. Keine Ahnung, wie man spricht.
Here, you can play with George.
Accepting the plush Stegosaurus, I immediately went into character. We dinosaurs will rule over this land and shall be named Gardenland.
That's a silly name. Let's call it something else.
Curse your sudden but inevitable portrayal.
I know what we should do. We should climb trees instead.
Really? I finally get the chance to play with dinosaurs on a spaceship and she already wants to play something else?
What?
Nothing. Alright. We're off to go climb some trees with the monkeys that we are. Like the monkeys that we are. Ready?
Ready!
Melody, be careful up there, sweetie. And try not to damage the trees. You don't want to ruin all of Katashi's hard work.
Wer ist Katashi?
Yes, Mom.
I turned around as Melody scampered off away from me. I gave chase and we were soon ducking and weaving through the small cluster of trees at the edge of the room. We spent the rest of the afternoon playing various games as her parents looked on from their picnic blanket. Warum muss ich mit dem Kind spielen?
Okay, Melody, last game. Everyone is getting tired, and we need to get cleaned up for dinner soon.
Okay. Can we play one game of hide and seek?
Sure, you go hide and I'll count
Make
to
sure
100.
You shut your eyes. Mom, make sure they shut their eyes.
I will. Now off you pop.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey.
5. Yes.
Listen. You seem like a good kid and we'd like to help you out if we can. If you tell us your number, we'll let you know if we can team up with you. If we can't make 10, then no harm done and we promise not to tell a soul what your number is. Sounds fair?
Ich trau dir nicht, die haben ein Kind. Die haben ein Kind. Leute mit Kind sind nie nett. Leute mit Kind sind egoistisch, also in so einem Ding, ne? Weil die nämlich auf ihr Kind achten wollen. Was total normal ist, okay? Das ist total normal. Aber vertraue keinen Menschen, die ein Kind haben, weil die haben andere Prioritäten. I appreciate the offer, but I think I'll wait until I understand the game a little better before I team up with other people.
It's wise to play it safe if you're unfamiliar with the game, but don't leave it too long. You need to team up with others before they team up without you.
You're right, thanks for the advice. Well, I better go find Melody. Ready or not, here I come! Sora gave me a warm smile. As soon as I turned around, I noticed 2 pink pigtails sticking out of a nearby flower bush. It seemed that Melody had forgotten to take her hair into account while hiding. I feigned ignorance and searched for a few minutes just to make her happy. Where's Melody gone? I can't find her anywhere. Melody! Melody, where are you? The mulberry bush giggled as I walked by it. Ja, wir müssen 10 erreichen. Oh, hallo Nico. Hallihallo. Tja, Nico. Das passiert. Jemanden tötet, um die Karte zu holen. Ja, eigentlich... muss jemand im Deletion auswirken? Oder? Gute Frage. Found you. I gave Melody a soft pat on the head, and as she squealed and ran back to her parents. I didn't know it was possible for someone to have that much energy. I trudged back to the picnic spot, trading far behind her. She'd really worn me out. Vladimir and Sora had already packed everything up. The picnic blanket thrown unceremoniously over Vladimir's sturdy shoulders.
All right, Melody. That's all for today. Time to go home.
Kannst doch 11 haben. Ja, kannst du, Missy. Die Frage ist nur, wenn wir zu viel haben.
I want to keep playing.
Listen to your mother, dear. She said we're going, so we're going.
She huffed, sulking in response to her mother's decree.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for joining us today. It means a lot to us.
Sora pulled me into an unexpected bear hug. It was surprising, but welcome. She squeezed me tightly before pulling away. Ich trau dir nicht. Her hands were planted firmly on my shoulders as she looked me right in the eye.
If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. You're part of the Everett's crew now, and that means your family.
Die sind viel zu nett. Wie Vladimir, so wie dir.
Stories about your parents, or spend some time with Melody. Our door is always open to you. You got that?
Got it. Well, I'd better go clean up before dinner. She tapped my shoulders twice, encouragingly, and then released me.
If you go out this door and turn right, you'll see a doorway covered with some cloth. Those are the baths. If you ever get lost, just call I and she'll sort you out.
Thanks. Ich brauche mein Team. Although spending the day playing with Melody had been quite soothing, I couldn't help but wonder if I should have spent my time more productively. If I couldn't find people to ally with soon, then I was sure to end up on the chopping block. This was the kind of game that required you to rely on other people to win, unless you were lucky enough to get the 10 card from the start, that is. But all I had was a measly 5. I needed others to make it work, but how? I was the outsider. Why would anyone place their trust in a complete stranger? Vielleicht hätten wir nicht den ganzen Tag mit dem Kind spielen sollen, sondern alle kennenlernen erstmal. Selbst bei Stardew Valley musst du die alle erstmal kennenlernen. When I entered the bathroom, it appeared to be empty.
Hello, sailor.
Da ist die richtige. Beatrix, dir vertraue ich. A voice whispered in my ear from behind. I jumped forward, startled, and had to steady myself on a nearby wall. Beatrix, you scared me half to death. I didn't hear you come in.
Truth be told, I followed you in. I guess that makes me a stalker. Do you like that?
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
You can make up your mind later. In any case, after you finish here, would you be a dear and come to the medical bay? I would love to spend some quality time with you.
She emphasized the last sentence by dragging her eyes languidly over my body. What about dinner? We don't have much time before it starts.
Don't worry. I'll take care of you. This isn't a meeting you want to miss.
Alright, let me clean up and I'll be right there.
I'll be waiting for you.
Beatrix's curious request to meet swirled through my head as I lathered the shampoo into my hair, still grimy with sweat from today's exertions. I decided to go see what she wanted and wrapped up my shower as quickly as possible. I toweled myself off, dressed, and found my way to the medical bay with I's help. Wie sehen wir eigentlich aus?
Good afternoon. It's good to see you up and about.
It's nice to finally be able to stretch my legs, not to mention leave my sleeping quarters.
I imagine it would be.
I'm supposed to be meeting Beatrix here. Is she around?
Enough chit-chat, Nicholas.
Apparently so.
I spun around, realizing that Beatrix had been here the whole time, concealed by medical equipment from her vantage point in the corner of the room.
I asked you to come here for a reason.
Nimm beide, Missy. Bin da nicht so. And what reason would that be?
We'd like you to share information with us about the deletion game, if you're willing.
In this game, information is power. So we're going to offer you a deal. 2 for 1. We tell you our numbers if you tell us yours. It's a simple information swap, but you must be honest.
Why me?
We feel a certain duty of care. You were unconscious most of the time, but Beatrix and I didn't leave your side for 4 whole days. By the end of your stay, we felt...
Ich trau ihm halt nicht. Regardless of whether the twins were being honest about their reasons for helping me, the fact was I had to start trusting someone at some point. Lying or refusing to give him information would only result in missing out on allying myself with the people I needed to. There was no other choice. It was do or die time. Okay, an information swap then. Ach, okay, gut.
After you.
Kann man vertrauen, dass in Deutsch Ich kann gerade gar nichts mehr machen, weil ich davor schon nicht gesagt habe. Oh no, it's too easy for you to go back on your word. You go first, I'll go next, and then Nicholas can go last. How's that? Das ist eine gute Idee.
Very well. My number is 2.
Und deine zufällig 3? I've got a 5.
That's wonderful. I have a 3. If we combine all of our numbers, we make 10 and are safe.
Das ist zu einfach, oder?
What do you think? Will you team up with us?
This sounds like a good plan. I'm not sure about this. Can I have some time to think this over? Zwillinge sind auch nicht so gut. Das ist fast, also das ist nicht so ganz so krass wie mit einem Kind, aber es ist ähnlich. Dann hat Dex nicht, wenn sie 7 und 8 zum Beispiel haben. Weil wenn sie 7 und 8 haben zum Beispiel, dann bin ich die mit der niedrigsten Nummer. Dann sind 1 bis 4 weg. Ach, komm!
Excellent. So, in 2 days we will all combine our numbers. In the meantime, to not divulge your number to any other crew member under any circumstances.
Oder sie teamen dann halt einfach nicht mit mir ab. Team halt einfach nicht mit mir.
In any case, I believe that Beatrix promised you dinner. So now that we've finished our business, let's move on to something more enjoyable.
Roastbeef und Gemüse halt, ne? Ups. Roast beef, I had some for lunch today. Not that I mind, ich habe gerade ein Stück hoch gedrückt, ohne den Knopf zu drücken.
Our chef is a stickler to keeping to our allotted rations. Any meat he cooks is eaten at every meal except for breakfast until it's gone so that it stays fresh.
Logically, it makes sense. But one can't help but lament on their palate's behalf every now and then.
Eine Frage, woher kriegen sie Beef? Haben wir Tiere oder ist das zufällig der Andreas Günther Vogel? Euer Vater. Warte mal, die müssen mich hassen. Stopp mal. Stopp mal, die müssen mich hassen. Weil ihr Vater ist doch wegen mir gestorben. Ich sollte mal speichern. Oder? The 3 of us shared a comfortable meal. I was shamelessly flirted at by both twins and occasionally I flirted back. Yes! Das ist ein Leben, sag ich euch. The time flew by and before I knew it, I found myself yawning into my hand. Ich traue den beiden nicht, aber ich mag sie.
Bedtime, I think.
If your quarters are too far away, you can always share mine, you know.
Okay. I think I managed, thanks. Oh. Exhausted from the past day's activities, I shuffled down the hall to my room and rolled into bed. The tension I had felt earlier had somehow dissipated, replaced with a serene, calm feeling. Before too long, I fell asleep. Also wenn das jetzt mein Leben wäre und ich das nicht nur ein Spiel spielen würde, was geskriptet ist, ja, dann würde ich mir Yoshiki suchen und vielleicht die Kapitänin. Ansonsten müsste ich halt mal gucken. Also ich würde erstmal die anderen Charaktere kennenlernen. Also ich würde erstmal alle kennenlernen wollen, bevor ich mir einen aussuche. Aber da würde ich mir so 2 Leute nehmen. Eigentlich am liebsten nur einen. Aber halt niemanden, der einen anderen viel zu krassen Partner hat. Weil gegen Zwillinge kannst du nichts machen. Weil das ist halt... Das sind Zwillinge, okay? Es sei denn, sie sind getrennt aufgewachsen. Es sind Zwillinge. Und vor allem niemanden, der ein Kind hat. Weil das Kind wird immer oberste Priorität sein. Da wird es niemals so sein, dass wir so sind, dass die Person sich um mich kümmert und ich mich um sie kümmere. Da wird es immer sein, so und das Kind ist oben drüber. Ja, Beauty Unicorn muss ich gucken. Also ich kann dir bestimmt auch betrügen. Aber ich weiß noch gar nicht, was man machen kann und was nicht. Wenn Leute sammeln. Ja, es geht jetzt nicht um das Spiel, es geht generell. Also nicht um das Make-10-Game, sondern um das Ganze außenrum. Ich bräuchte 1 bis 2 Personen, denen ich wirklich vertrauen kann. Und das sind keine Zwillinge und keine Familie mit einem Kind. I woke multiple times throughout the night. Some part of me still couldn't believe this was actually happening. I couldn't really be fighting for my life, could I? It all seemed so surreal, like part of someone else's vivid nightmare. I was staring up at the ceiling, contemplating my situation when I heard the door to my quarters open. Startled, I immediately sat up.
It's only me. I'm sorry if I startled you.
I squinted through the dim light. It was difficult to make out a face, but I knew from a voice that it was the captain. I was grateful for the darkness that obscured my disheveled appearance and the tangled mass of blankets strewn across my bed. It certainly would have fallen far short of the captain's exacting standards. What time is it?
0430 hours. I'm sorry for the intrusion.
Könnt ihr nicht einfach 4:30 Uhr sagen?
I must speak with you away from the prying eyes of the other crew members.
What about?
Skipped dinner last night. Is it safe to assume you were together?
Yes.
What did they want?
Not that it's any of your business, but they asked to swap information for the deletion game.
And did you? Swap information?
That's none of your concern.
Even so, I just want you to be careful. I may not know you very well, but you should be aware that they probably aren't being completely honest with you. The Vogels are not to be trusted.
I'll decide that for myself.
Very well. But if you do decide to trust them, then you should be on your guard. You wouldn't want to wind up dead because you trusted the wrong person.
I
must go. If you need to speak with me again, ensure that it's after hours. I'll tell I to make my quarters available to you, should you wish to visit.
Yes, wir sind in ihren Quarters drin. Thank you.
Now go back to sleep. You still have a few hours before breakfast.
Before I could blink, the captain had disappeared from my room, leaving me alone with my thoughts once more. Oh, sure. Sleep, she says. How could I possibly sleep knowing that the Vogel's offer might be nothing more than an elaborate ruse? Ja, das war doch klar. I thought I was all set, that everything would be fine now that I had other people to work with. How hopelessly naive of me. After a few hours of restless sleep and some horrible dreams involving chewing my own teeth and insects crawling out of my ears, it was finally close enough to breakfast for me to get out of bed. Schlaf gut, Epi, träum was Schönes. Und danke, dass du da warst. Und danke dir. Du weißt schon. Vielen, vielen Dank, Epi. Dankeschön. Und ruh dich gut aus. Lass dich nicht ärgern. The day held nothing but anxiety for me now. Today was the last day before the deletion game actually took place. For all I knew, I could be the one fated to die tomorrow. I walked down the corridors of the ship, gazing at the stars through the windows as I made my way to the dining hall, checking the map on my personal tablet every now and then to ensure I was on the right path. Suddenly a pair of hands seized me from behind, grabbing me around the waist and hauling me backwards into an unknown room. As soon as I was released, I spun around frantically to face my attacker. Er gibt mir Essen. Die will ich. Mit der team ich ab. Egal was kommt, mit der Team. Das ist meine. Die hat einen Einhornrucksack. Da ist ein Einhorn. Das ist meine. A man and a young woman stood before me, enigmatic smiles painted on their faces. Standing there with her hands on her backpack straps, the girl with vivid blue hair seemed particularly proud of her handiwork. None of this seemed quite as pressing as the gleaming knife the man held in his hand. He took a few steps towards me.
I see our guest has arrived at last.
Frag sie nach ihrer Nummer. Mach ich! Hallo, Andi. Nein, Missy, die gehört mir. What do you want from me? The man advanced closer. I shrank back in fear as he flipped and caught the knife with a practiced hand. After a few tense moments, he offered me the knife handle.
Care to do the honors?
I'm sorry, what?
Katashi made lemon tart.
Shizuka ist meine. Shizuka und ich. Shizu und ich. Jeder Tag ein Klacks. 2 Freunde. Vielleicht ist nicht mehr mit ungefähr. Naja.
Tarte au citron, actually.
Tarte au citron, bitte, okay?
They're the same thing.
I usually don't encourage the crew to eat sweets before breakfast, but I think we can make an exception on this particular occasion. Please, sit.
Also jemanden auf einer anderen Sprache zu verbessern, der es nicht, also der die Sprache überhaupt nicht aussprechen kann, das ist lächerlich. Entschuldigung. Wie? Nee, wie gibt's nicht mehr. Katashi pulled out a chair at the nearby table and gestured for me to sit down. Once I'd taken my seat, Katashi carefully slid the plate of lemon tart towards me. The pastry was lovely golden brown and the lemon custard center had a gentle wobble to it. Goofy meint, nein, Shizu und ich. I gingerly cut 3 small pieces before handing the knife back to him. Warum denn kleine?
You don't want more?
Danke.
Katashi's a really good cook, you know.
Ey. Sie und ich. Für immer.
That's plenty big enough. You wouldn't want to spoil your appetite before breakfast, would you?
Doch. Katashi quickly plated the pieces and handed out forks with the air of an accomplished chef. Fork in hand, Shizuka began to scarf hers down with great enthusiasm.
I thought that something sweet might help soften the blow of our little kidnapping here.
Ach, Dex. As it certainly helps. I'm Luna, by the way.
The name's Katashi Ikari. I'm the Everett's agricultural engineer.
Hello, my name's Shizuka.
I'm sorry. The young woman had her mouth full of lemon tart and seemed preoccupied with trying to steal Katashi's portion of his plate while he was distracted. Katashi deflected Shizuka's sneak attack without missing a beat.
This hot mess is Shizuka Himura, the linguistics officer, but she also handles navigation duties from time to time.
Sprache ist mein Talent. Ach Quatsch, Tobi.
We understand that you've been forced to participate in this round of the deletion game, so we wanted to propose an alliance of sorts.
We want to win this game, but to do that, we need allies.
Ich mach alles, was du willst. I'm well aware of that, but what makes you think that our numbers are compatible?
That's easy. I already know your number is 5.
How did you know?
Lucky guess.
What? So you really didn't know?
Nope.
Ignore her antics. What we really brought you here to talk about was the game itself. Everyone's so preoccupied with finding a partner that no one's really looking at the bigger picture here. There's a better way to determine the loser. As a group.
What do you have in mind?
There's 10 cards, right? If we all came out and told each other our numbers, we could directly influence the results. 1 would pair up with 9, 2 with 8, 3 with 7, and 4 with 6. Then whoever was left with a 5 would be eliminated, right?
We need to work as a team, the whole damn crew. This game isn't just affecting us.
Das finde ich nicht
It's
gut.
affecting the chances of every human being who's relying on us to finish this mission.
Also, ich hab da was dagegen. Okay?
Shizuka and I think our best option is to vote as a group on who we think contributes the least to the overall mission. The person chosen for elimination would be expected to voluntarily trade their card with another player,
Okay, das ist okay.
finishing the round with a 5. With everything out in the open, there'd be no need to backstab each other.
Das ist zu schlau, das funktioniert nicht. Weil jeder viel zu viel Angst davor hat, dass er der ist, der sterben muss. But the person with the 5 card would still die.
Maybe so, but I've already tried working the numbers from every angle. There are no loopholes, no cheats that would allow us to all move on. Trust me, I've looked. The best we can do now is decide as a crew who should be sacrificed.
Ich bin für Melody.
I hate what this game has turned us into. We all used to be such good friends.
Danke, Missy. Danke.
We're going to propose our idea at breakfast this morning, and the more supporters we can get, the better. We know that the captain is willing to support us. Now it's just a matter of convincing everybody else. You don't need to give us your answer now. Just think it over.
I will.
Hopefully the others will see that this is our best course of action. We should be trying to work things out together instead of fighting each other. If we can't refuse to play the game, we can at least play it on our terms.
Erinnert ihr euch noch, dass ich bei Zero Escape immer genau das gepredigt habe? Warum machen wir den Scheiß eigentlich? Warum reden wir nicht miteinander? Oh, that does seem like the most sensible option.
All right then. We should start heading over to the dining hall before anyone notices our absence and begins to get suspicious.
I followed behind Katashi and Shizuka in a daze. As we made our way to the dining hall, I still wasn't sure what I was going to do. Once again, I found myself lost in thought. Nicolas and Beatrix had told me they had a combined total of 5. If they were telling the truth, I'd be safe if I teamed up with them. Shizuka and Katashi knew my number but didn't seem interested in partnering up. Perhaps their numbers were incompatible with mine. And what about the captain's claim the Vogels weren't trustworthy? She'd known them much longer than I had. Then again, she might be lying too. If I supported Katashi and Shizuka's idea to vote on who should be deleted, then there was a chance that they would vote against me, declaring me the least useful crew member. Ja, aber die Chance ist immer da. I'd only just gotten here and they'd been fine for 2 decades without me. There was no way they'd consider me essential personal. Also Dex 2 könnte es ja gar nicht sein. Also, außer du hast halt keine Karte. Und dann hieß es, also wenn du beide keine Karte haben und beide dann 0 haben, dann ist halt Zufall. Aber ansonsten gibt es ja keine geringste Karte. Du hast nur die geringste Karte, also kann nur doppelt die geringste Karte geben, wenn keiner eine Karte von den beiden hat. If we voted as a group, however, I could at least make a case for why I shouldn't be killed. I was young, smart, and if given enough time, maybe they would let me stay and prove myself. It would certainly be a lot fairer than leaving it to chance or skill at some stupid party game. I jerked at the unexpected sensation of a hand on my shoulder.
We're here.
I'd been staring at the floor, rooted to the spot in front of the dining hall. Right, thanks. Katashi, Shizuka, and I made our way inside. Everyone was already helping themselves to a buffet of Müsli, frischen Früchten und Porridge. Naja, dann ist halt die 1. Also, da zählt deine Karte. Es zählt, glaube ich, nicht die Summe, die man hat dann, sondern deine Karte zählt. Ich glaube schon, heilige Bimmerkatze. Also so habe ich zumindest verstanden. I grabbed a bowl of banana and muesli with some chilled milk and sat down in one of the empty seats next to Sora.
Good morning. Sleep well?
Fine, thanks. I wasn't really in the mood for pleasantries, so I returned to my muesli. Sora seemed content to leave me to my thoughts. By and by, the table was filled with empty bowls and fruit peels. Amid the idle breakfast chatter, the captain rose to her feet at the head of the table to address the group. Aber hieß es nicht, es gibt immer Fleisch zum Frühstück? A sudden hush fell over the room as all eyes turned towards her.
No doubt many of you are anxious. There's little I can do to put those feelings at ease. All I ask is that you treat each other with respect, as fellow crew members of the Everett.
Richtig, Dex.
We are the best humanity has to offer, and as such, we must hold ourselves to higher standards. The deletion game is brutish, but that doesn't mean that we have to be. Fight fairly, play honorably, and have faith that we will overcome these trials.
Captain, may I speak freely?
Please.
As the captain said, we are the Everett's crew. We must remember that we have a greater purpose here.
Smile, danke schön fürs Subgift an Junko. Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank, Smile. Das ist sehr, sehr lieb von dir. Dankeschön und hallo, Smile. Ich hoffe, dir geht's gut. Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank. Oh, Junko. Jedes Mal muss ich... Danganronpa müssen wir auch noch spielen. Und ich hab Community Deutsch Untertitel. Das macht alles viel einfacher. Und hallo Junko. Oh, gute Besserung, Smile. Ruh dich gut aus. Und ich hoffe, dir geht's bald wieder besser. Gute Besserung. Schaffst das.
We have a duty to the human race to see our mission through. And to do that, we need to make sure we have the crew that is best qualified for the job.
Oh, Kopfschmerzen. Falls es Migräne ist, Tomapyrin. Und spazieren gehen? Darfst du rausgehen? Frische Luft tut dabei meistens echt gut.
Shizuka has created a strategy that allows us to vote on the loser of the game.
It's pretty simple, really. First, we discuss and vote on who should be eliminated. Then that person must swap cards with number 5. Everyone else would then pair up with their corresponding numbers to make 10. 1 with 9, 2 with 8, and 4 with 6.
If we agree to this plan, everyone would need to be involved in the discussion and be willing to sacrifice themselves in the event that they lost the vote.
Ach, die hast du nicht, okay. Rumgetrunken. Und es, ja, manchmal hilft. Aber dann spazieren gehen, vielleicht. Also falls du es noch nicht gemacht hast, frische Luft. Vor allem, wenn die Luft relativ kühl ist, kann auch gut helfen.
It's certainly not a perfect plan, and at the end of the day, we'd still be sentencing someone to death, regardless of how we arrived at that decision. But it would get the job done.
That's ludicrous. Why would anyone ever choose to cooperate if they lost?
Is this even allowed? Wouldn't Dai protest?
I do not believe that this plan contradicts any of the game's rules. The rules of Make 10 do not prevent disclosure of numbers or coordinated pairings.
Dann gute Besserung, Smile, und Schlaf hoffentlich bald.
I'd rather not. Nicholas and I are doing perfectly fine on our own.
Bitte was on our own? Was ist mit mir?
Don't think you can drag us into your petty little scheme. We see right through it. You're just trying to expose everyone's numbers so that you can screw them over.
Tut mir leid, Dominik, ist halt so.
I have to agree with my sister on this one. We'd also be putting ourselves at considerable risk, given the fact that we are the only profession on board that has 2 officers.
Warte mal, sie sind fine on their own. Heißt es, sie haben sowas wie 6 und 4?
Everyone here is important. There's no way I could ever choose between my friends.
Ich supporte das. Ich habe gesagt, egal was sie macht, ich bin auf ihrer Seite. It may be the only way to make sure someone important to the mission doesn't get killed.
A person's worth isn't so easily measured.
Ach, halt die Fresse. But someone's going to die regardless. If that person's skills are vital to the mission, then humanity's hopes die with them. This mission is bigger than any one of us.
The thought is appreciated, Shizuka, but it seems as though the majority of the crew is against the idea. We will continue playing the deletion game as we have been until now. Dismissed.
I was still exhausted from yesterday's investigation, not to mention the mental strain of not knowing whether I would live or die tomorrow. Only a few days in, the deletion game had already begun to take its toll. Stimmt's da nicht du? Nein! Hä? Die wählen ja jemanden, der nix kann. Ich kann ja was. Was? Der Dark-Modus von Twitter schwarz? Okay. Nein, wir sind nicht nutzlos. Wir können auch was. Unsere Eltern sind die krassesten Researcher gewesen. Wir sind krass. Okay, die lieben uns. I collapsed on my bed, fully clothed. What the hell was I going to do tomorrow? Could I trust the Vogels to stay true to their word? Would I be safer going with Katashi and Shizuka? There was little I could do but wait for tomorrow. Unless the captain's kind offer from this morning suddenly came to my mind. I wondered whether I should turn in early to clear my head for tomorrow or if I should head over to the captain's quarters for her counsel. Ich gehe auf jeden Fall zu Kimiko. If anyone could help me, it was the captain. When she visited me early this morning, she'd had a gentleness about her that I hadn't seen before. For whatever reason, she genuinely seemed to want to keep me safe. It can't do any harm. Standard dimmen und Licht aus. Okay. I swung out of bed, exited my quarters and moved quickly down the corridor. I didn't particularly want to be seen visiting the captain at this hour. It might suggest something untoward. Reaching her door, I buzzed her intercom.
Come in.
Ja. Alter, die strickt die Frau. Kannst du mir eine Schale und Socken stricken? The captain's room had the same basic layout as mine, but hers looked much more comfortable. It had a distinct lived-in feel, whereas mine still looked sterile. The room of a stranger. The captain was sitting on the sofa, reading something on a digital display. She folded the tablet shut on her lap as I approached and sat down next to her.
I'm glad you came over.
Yeah. I need to talk to somebody. I don't know what to do.
This hasn't been an easy situation for any of us. In some ways, you have it the easiest. The person you see die tomorrow hasn't been your friend for a lifetime.
True, but then again, I'll never get the chance to know them at all.
It's hard to know which is worse. Was there something you wanted to talk about?
Oh Gott, voll verschluckt. When you came to visit me this morning, why did you decide to tell me that the Vogels weren't trustworthy?
I wanted you to know what you were getting into. Nicholas and Beatrix love each other very much. There's almost nothing they wouldn't do in order to protect themselves.
Alabama.
Even if that meant betraying someone else.
They told me that they wanted to partner up with me. What possible motivation could they have for lying?
You're looking at it wrong. The aim of the game isn't to win. It's simply not to lose.
But what if they aren't lying?
That very well may be the case.
I guess all we can do is wait until tomorrow to find out.
The waiting is always the hardest part. Being unable to help the crew is incredibly frustrating. All I can do is wait until one of the people I've pledged my life to protect is butchered in front of me.
Außer du bist es selbst. A pleasant silence fell between us for a minute. Well, I'd better get going. Thanks for talking with me.
My door is always open.
Good night, Captain.
Good night.
Luna! I left the captain's quarters in a daze, arriving back at my room in what seemed like seconds. Auf jeden Fall. My body felt like it was on autopilot. Pilot, moving off its own volition as my mind wandered. Finally reaching my quarters, I slipped into bed and went right to sleep. Boah, das ist so anstrengend. So Englisch die ganze Zeit, ne? Am nächsten Tag.
Bing bong, bing bong. It's time for all competitors to wake up.
Alright, I'm awake already.
Bing bong, it's time for all competitors to wake up.
How do I turn you off?
Well, if you must know, disassembled computer parts put me right out of the mood. Whips and leather, on the other hand.
That's not what I meant, you know it. Die. How do I turn the alarm off?
The magic word is banana.
Banana.
Command accepted. Alarm shutting off.
Ja, Beauty Moon Unicorn, irgendwie, also das Spiel ist noch nicht, also ich hab's noch nicht so gemastert, weißt du. Di did a poor impression of a robot, bending her arms and moving them up and down in a stilted fashion. Her impression was emphatically concluded by her impression of shutting down, complete with a crooked neck and her left arm swaying at the elbow. Genau, ich muss mein Dating-Game noch absteppen. It looked like an old-fashioned dance move my father would have pulled off. That is to say, it was a poor show. Are you done?
Good morning. Well, it's that time again, folks. Fighting for your life has never been so much fun. Come join us in the dining hall. The second round of the deletion game is about to begin.
I'll be there in a moment. Now please leave me alone.
You're pretty grumpy in the morning, you know that? Has anyone ever told you that you're not much of a morning person?
Di huffed audibly and then zapped out of the room. I quickly made my way to the dining hall, only to find that everyone else had already assembled.
Here's the slowpoke. You sure took your sweet time, didn't ya? Now that everyone's here, let the fun begin.
At Dai's exclamation, the surface of the dining table was overlaid with 4 holographic terminals, one on each side of the table. We all gathered close to a nearby terminal to have a look. The one before me had 2 distinct areas. On the left was a blank card. The right-hand side of the terminal was dominated by the outline of a hand.
From this point onwards, transactions will take place in the dining hall. Parties involved in a transaction must be declared to me before entering the room, and only those involved in the transaction may enter this room.
Wir sind noch nicht so weit, Dex.
Any attempt to force your way in or otherwise interfere with the transaction will result in instant elimination.
Wir sind gerade beim Deletion Game, also ist genau der Tag davon.
Once players have entered the dining hall, they must choose who will control the transaction by using the primary terminal. The primary terminal is the one in front of the phallic statue. Come on over and have a look.
We all made our way up to the primary terminal to verify Dai's information. She wasn't lying. The left-hand side of the primary terminal contained an additional section with 3 choices labeled. Combine, trade, give.
To use a terminal, you must place your hand on the holographic screen. Once your handprint has been verified, your card number will appear on screen. If you have 2 cards, both will appear. The person at the primary terminal must then choose which transaction they wish to perform. The players stationed at passive terminals can see which action is chosen, but are unable to see the card numbers of other players participating in the transaction. Results of a combined transaction will not be known until judgment phase. The only information that will be displayed is who you have combined with and the total score. Results of a trade or give transaction will be noticeable during any following transaction as your card number or amount will have either increased or decreased.
Ich glaube, es wird Zero Escape mäßig mit dem Give. Also falls das Kartenspiel öfter ist, glaube ich, wird es wirklich Zero Escape mäßig. So von wegen, so der Vater zum Beispiel will jemanden eliminieren und sagt, ja, Hauptsache meine Tochter wird's nicht, also gebe ich ihr meine Karte oder so.
In order to make sure that no one can see your card while you are transacting, each terminal has thick holographic walls.
I don't need it.
No one can know your card number unless you tell them. After all, half of the fun has been watching all of you lie to each other. I am available outside of the dining hall at any time should you need me to repeat these instructions or answer any other questions you may have. You have 1 hour to complete your transactions. I wish you all the best of luck. Now clear out. It's time to get the show on the road.
Dai ushered us out into the hallway. Suddenly all pretense fell away as alliances grouped together publicly to finalize their strategies. Kimiko and Yoshiki, Nicholas and Beatrix, Shizuka and Katashi, Vladimir, Sora, and Melody. And there I was, standing alone. I needed to decide who I was going to pair up with and fast. Groups stood in staggered clusters down the length of the hallway, all keeping a watchful eye on the door to the dining hall. None seemed willing to make the first move. Abruptly, Kimiko and Yoshiki broke off from the others and approached the hologram guarding the dining hall.
Yoshiki and I would like to use a transaction terminals die.
Very well. This way, please.
As soon as the 2 of them entered the dining hall, the door slid shut behind them. The audible click of the door's locking mechanism conveyed a clear message to the rest of the crew. We were not to enter under any circumstances. Schrödingers Katze, stimmt, die fehlt noch. Everyone else was trying to finish their arrangements as quickly as possible. The longer you waited in this game, the more likely the other players were to partner up or swap with someone else. This was it. The moment of truth. I decided to... Also, Entschuldigung, ich muss die beiden nehmen. Alice vermisst du. Ich vermisse Clover. Ja, du hast vorhin Danganronpa gehört. Wir haben den ersten Teil schon mal angefangen, aber nie weitergespielt, weil mir das zu anstrengend war, weil es zu viel Text war und zu wenig, also zu viel Englisch. Und mein Stream halt Deutsch ist. Es ist auch zu viel Englisch eigentlich, aber es gibt wenigstens Voice Lines. Aber bei Danganronpa gibt es ja Fan-Dubs. Und deswegen passt schon. Ich will auch nur einen Rucksack. Das ist auch gut, David. I'd made up my mind I would partner up with Katashi and Shizuka. The altruistic desire to put the mission first was a deeply respectable one. They were trying to make the best out of an impossible situation, appealing to reason in an attempt to prevent the crew from descending into anarchy. God. And I admired them for that. Katashi and Shizuka stood quite close to the door. Their faces were surprisingly solemn as I joined them. Hey, Das kann aber gar nicht klappen, oder? I was just wondering if you offered to team up, so stood. It's a shame that your plan didn't work out, but I guess we have no choice but to play the game if everyone else is playing, right?
To say that our plan didn't work wouldn't be entirely true.
What do you mean? Oh nein, die haben 3 und 7 oder so eine Kacke.
You see, when Shizuka joked that she already knew your number, she actually wasn't joking. We're really sorry to have to do this to you. We only lied so that you would support our plan and we'd be able to get you out of this mess. We tried, kiddo. We really did.
I don't understand. What are you saying?
Are you familiar with the phrase, every man for himself and the devil take the hindmost?
Oh, ich hab's Gefühl, ich muss sterben. Ich hab's Gefühl, es wird so sein, so, ja, ich weiß, wer welche Nummer hat oder so. Es wird Zero Escape. Ich schwöre, es wird Zero Escape. No, what does that have to do with this?
It's a proverb from the 18th century. It means that everyone should look after themselves and leave those who can't to meet their fate. Hat sie gerade 18th Century gesagt und da steht 16. Naja, gut. We decided as a crew that we should take care of ourselves.
Okay, ja, sie versuchen alle 1, 9, 2, 8, 7, 3, 4, 6. Das versuchen sie alle. Und ich muss das Wissen haben, damit ich das schaffen kann. Ich glaube, es wird so.
It's nothing personal.
Ich glaube, ich brauche das Wissen. My heart sank as I slowly came to understand.
Once we told everyone you had 5 and suggested we should just sacrifice you, they were far more willing to get involved with our strategy.
Ich liebe dich trotzdem. They betrayed me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was as good as dead. My heart pounded in my chest, sending blood rushing through my eardrums so loudly that I thought they might burst. My eyes burned as light exploded behind my eyes and the world began to blur. I was going to die today. Die wollen, dass ich sterbe. Die wollen, dass ich sterbe. Also die Entwickler. Du musst sterben, damit du peilst, was dieses Spiel macht. Ich glaube. Bei Zero Escape passiert. Ich bin mehrmals gestorben. Zero Escape ist ein bisschen wie Danganronpa, nur extremer. Und weniger Mord aufklären und mehr Escape Rooms noch dabei. Aber wenn du Danganronpa magst, Zero Escape könntest du dir angucken. I was going to die. No, I don't want to die.
Oh, looks like the cat's out of the bag.
Why would you do this to me? Countless pairs of bulging eyes fixated on me as I stepped back, desperate to get away from them. Fear rapidly gave way to anger. When someone tried to put their hand on my back, I lashed out, ferociously shoving them away. Don't touch me, you don't know a thing about me. I'm a genius, did you know that? A proper genius! If you'd give me more time, I could have saved the whole bloody lot of you. But you've made your bed, now you have to lie in it.
Please, we didn't mean it to be like this.
Ich bin so lustig. This was the first time I'd ever been in contact with anyone other than my parents. And do you know what I've concluded? You're all complete bastards! I was going to die. Alone, unloved, unremembered, unmourned. I could have done so much. I could have. If they'd just given me a chance, I could have. I curled into a ball, trying to find solace in my own thoughts during my final hour. Before long, my time had run out.
Extra, extra! Be sharp, sing on rooftop! Attention! This round of the deletion game has come to an end. All participants are to meet in the dining room at once.
Ja, das Problem ist der Entwickler, also es gibt ein Spiel und darauf freue ich mich, also wir haben noch eins, das wir dann spielen können. Das ist ein bisschen anders als Zero Escape, vom gleichen Entwickler. Das ist aber eigentlich ein Handy-Game gewesen, aber es kommt auch für Switch und so raus. Wann war es? März, glaube ich. Und dann gibt es noch ein tolles Basketballspiel, was wir nicht spielen werden. Dice voice thundered throughout the ship. I froze. The moment we'd all been dreading had finally arrived.
You'd all better hurry. I'm not going to wait to announce the results, you know.
I closed my eyes, inhaled and exhaled deeply. I was as ready as I was ever going to be. Everyone congregated in the dining hall within minutes of Dice's announcement. Ja, Basketball. Frag mich, ich weiß gerade nicht mehr, wie es heißt. Ist total dämlich. Es ist irgendwie so ein super Basketball. Keine Ahnung. Also, nicht so normal. Nicht Basketball. Baseball war es, glaube ich. Baseball. Ganz komisch. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room as we waited to hear the results.
It's judgment time, everyone. If you'll all take a look
genau
up
sowas.
here,
Also
I've created a handy
Baseball-Romper.
holographic scoreboard for your viewing convenience. You can thank me later. In a minute, this board will display everyone's final results. Keep in mind, the numbers of each individual player in a group will not be displayed, only their combined scores. After all, what's done is done.
My heart was pounding so hard against the inside of my chest that it threatened to burst into pieces at any moment. Shallow, rapid breaths were all I could muster as I clenched my eyes shut, horrified to see my fate sealed in glowing letters and numbers.
Ooh, I'm just so excited for you all to find out the results. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations, everybody! You all live to fight again. Everybody except the new guy, that is. As the loser of round 2, you must now submit yourself to the method of execution of my choosing.
Ich wusste, dass die kleine 10 hat. Ich wusste es. Ich wusste es. Ich sehe gut aus. Ich kenne den männlichen Charakter. Es ist 1:1 der männliche Charakter, nur mit einem Zopf.
Let's spin the wheel of fatality to see what gruesome punishment lies in store for you. Ooh, I can hardly wait.
With a flourish, Die conjured a sizable holographic wheel split up into labeled sections. I barely managed to read them all before Die passed judgment. Gravity, airlock, oxygen, incineration, and spacewalk. Each one sounded more ominous than the last. Within seconds, Die gave the wheel a hefty spin, and the sections of the wheel blurred into one another. My eyes were fixed on the wheel as it gradually slowed, ticking its way to a standstill as the arrow circled the dial, finally coming to rest on
incineration.
Yay! Zero escape. Please, no, anything but that.
No time like the present. Let's head on down to the furnace room, shall we?
Oh, es gibt ein furnace room. Accepting my fate, I solemnly fell into step behind Die as she led the way to the furnace room with a spring in her step. Also vor allem, was mich halt wundert, ich konnte halt auch gar nicht irgendwie entscheiden, ob ich die Karte... Ich hätte die Karte ja auch einfach der Uschi geben können zum Beispiel. Also da gab es noch nicht. Ich glaube, das ist wirklich einfach Intro. Und ist schwierig. As we fell into the furnace room, the ambient temperature rose with every passing step, and I slowly became aware of the gentle crackling of flames. The cavernous room was dominated by the raging fire of the furnace itself, held at bay by a thick pane of reinforced glass. As the last of our group crossed the threshold, the door shut behind us with a resounding thud. Even on this side of the glass, the heat radiating out from the furnace was overwhelming. Hallo Machibo, wie geht's dir? Although there was a maintenance access panel. Oh, wir müssen eine Escape Room machen. Diesmal einen richtigen Escape Room. Panel located on the chute emerging from the top of the furnace. This occasion clearly warranted use of the hinge door cut into the glass.
Here we are. For losing round 2 of the deletion game, you've been sentenced to death by incineration.
Yay!
I must insist that you enter the furnace immediately. I've taken the liberty of preheating the furnace for your arrival.
Das ist nett.
You should find it quite cozy.
Das ist wirklich nett. I entered the furnace without hesitation. Nothing would save me from the anguish I already felt inside at being betrayed by the entire crew. The sooner it was done with, the better. My skin instantly began to sting upon entering, bursts of pain shooting through my nerves as the blaze licked at my legs.
Company, fall in!
Oh, Yoshiki heult! Yoshiki heult! Hier, er weint, Bibi weint. Hä, das Kind ist auch dabei, das ist aber nett. The tongues of flame had begun to blacken my uniform as Kimiko shouted. Searing pain jolted through me as violent. Blistering welts started forming on my exposed skin.
Research officer, you have served honorably aboard the Everett during your short time with us. Company, salute!
Moderatoren töten. Ist schwierig, wenn es eine AI ist. The entire line saluted in unison, their faces a mixture of snide contentment, pity and fear. Man, the flames danced across my skin, bringing with them a new bout of torment. Animalistic howls wrecked my body as I shrieked, unable to bear the pain any longer. Kippt Wasser auf sie. Guter Punkt. Das stimmt, David, das stimmt. My charred skin was starting to slough off, separating from the muscle underneath it in dry flakes that were virtually indistinguishable from burnt scraps of paper. I clamped my eyes shut, sickened at the sight of myself. Pure smell of my own burning hair and flesh mixed with the smoke pouring off my flaming body, forcing its way down my throat and scalding my lungs. Ich hab eine Stimme! I began to cough violently in a vain attempt to expel the smoke from my lungs, struggling for breath between fits of coughing. Like a fish out of water, I continued to ineffectually gasp for air, but there was nothing left to breathe amid that blazing inferno. Some part of my mind dimly realized that I was asphyxiating. The disgusting squelching and sizzling sounds of fat and muscle roasting as it cooked suddenly seemed so far away. Ai gute Veritas! As my consciousness faded to black, the last thing I heard was the sound of my agonized screams ricocheting, keine Ahnung, throughout the room, wordlessly planning for death. Ricocheting, klar. Der Rico, der chattet. You have died. Timeline! Switch to girl, was? Ich wollte gerade sagen, das ist aber schön übersichtlich. Und vor allem... Oh mein Gott, es gibt andere. Oh mein Gott, wir müssen das Spiel zweimal spielen. Danke, Orakel, für den Follow. Wir müssen das ganze Spiel zweimal spielen. Da gibt es ein drittes als Boy.
Bing bong, bing bong. It's time for all competitors to wake up. Bing bong, it's time for all
Do nothing, hope for the best. Bis gleich, Dominik. Okay, wir gehen mit Beatrix. Nicholas and Beatrix stood at the end of the hall, engaged in a private conversation. Hey, Beatrix, Nicholas, does your offer to combine still stand? I've decided that I want in.
We knew we could rely on you. No one as charming as you could possibly betray us. Isn't that right, brother?
Nicholas nodded in reply.
We're glad you're on board. All we need to do is perform one little transaction. Then we can go and relax. It'll all be over soon.
Oh, aber dann habe ich die Eltern von Melody auf dem Gewissen, oder? Mitbewohner hat einen Mixer gekauft. Veritas, in Corona-Zeiten sowas kaufen ist halt auch. Freunde Berggeil. I know this is a weird question given that we're about to go put our lives in each other's hands, but I've heard rumors that you two might not be telling me the whole truth.
That bitch. It was the captain, wasn't it? That's just like her. She's so desperate, she'll stoop to sabotaging other players' chances by casting aspersions against their character.
Ich hätte ihr von vornherein vertrauen sollen.
If barging in there didn't forfeit my place in the game, I would go and give her a piece of my mind and my fist while I'm at it. Right square in her face.
Whoa, sorry, I brought it up.
Beatrix and Kimiko don't exactly have the best relationship. But never fear, friend. We didn't spend 4 days slaving over you just to get you killed 3 days later.
Das ist ein guter Punkt. Hättest du den früher mal gebracht, dann wäre ich gar nicht verbrannt worden. Willkommen zurück, Dominik.
You're right to put your faith in us.
The moment the door whooshed open, my arm nearly shot out of its socket as I was yanked down the hall by Beatrix, running at a full sprint. Nicholas was surprisingly fast, fending off anyone who wished to initiate a transaction by using his lengthy lab coat as a makeshift barricade. When push came to shove, the Vogels meant business.
Very well. Please enter. You'll have 10 minutes to complete your transaction, at which time you will be forcibly removed from the dining room.
Ich habe gerade Tim Melzer verstanden. Ich habe gerade wirklich Tim Melzer verstanden. As soon as we entered the room, the door closed behind us with a loud metallic clang. Nicholas strode up to the primary terminal, placed his hand on the holographic display, and waited for us to take our places at the other terminals. Couldn't we have at least discussed who should be in control of the primary terminal?
It doesn't particularly matter for this type of transaction. Combining cards is our only available option here. Trading and giving are both limited to one-on-one transactions.
Ja, habe ich vorhin schon gehört, das Valheim. Ich habe es nicht mal mitgekriegt. Ich wusste nicht mal, dass das existiert. Aber viel Spaß auf jeden Fall, Veritas. Hallo, Ruben. Wer ist die Blonde? Unsere Freundin. I guess you're right.
Let's get on with it, shall we? We only have 10 minutes.
I made my way over to the secondary terminal opposite Beatrix. Once I... Schreck mich doch nicht so. Blop. Dankeschön, Rio, für die 8 Monate. Dankeschön für den Resub. Vielen, vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Sehr lieb von dir. Und vielen, vielen Dank für die ganzen 8 Monate. Dankeschön. Danke, Rio. Dankeschön. Ja, ist unsere. Unsere. Teil mit euch. All of my attention was focused on the screen. Whatever happened here would determine my future. The sensation of placing my hand on something that wasn't physically there felt very surreal. I'd been expecting to feel a slight electric vibration when I placed my palm against its surface, but there was nothing. My terminal beeped as my handprint was verified as my own. The terminal screen changed, displaying my name and card number, a lonely 5. On my screen I could see the word combine light up as it was selected. In a moment, the readout changed to 5 plus Beatrix plus Nicholas, and it was done. We were officially allied.
Congratulations! Your transaction has been completed. Judgment will occur in 44 minutes. Thank you for participating in the deletion game.
Wir werden nicht sterben! We exited the dining hall beneath the withering, judgmental stares of the other players. For some reason, I couldn't bring myself to meet Kimiko's gaze.
Thank you. We appreciate your help.
Aber den vertrauen wir nicht lange, okay? Den vertrauen wir nicht lang. Beatrix winked at me slyly.
We owe you one, Sailor.
Moon! Guck mal, sie hat mich Sailor genannt und ich heiße Luna und Luna bedeutet Mond und Mond auf Englisch, was die ja sprechen, ist Moon, also Sailor Moon. Ich bin offiziell Sailor Moon. I'm glad we could help each other out.
Try to get some rest. Doctor's orders. We'll see you at judgment.
Das ist noch nicht vorbei, oder? I wasn't sure how he expected me to rest, considering how little time we had left before the final results were announced.
Extra, extra! Be sharp, sing on rooftop! Attention, attention! This round of the deletion game has come to an end.
Was sagt ihr, wer
All
stirbt?
participants are to meet in the dining room at once.
Was sagt ihr? Warte, ich weiß es. Ich weiß, wer sterben wird. Ich weiß es. Ich weiß es. Außer ist noch irgendwas anderes vorgefallen. Aber laut der Zahlen muss es Soda sein. Dice Voice, Thunder... Achso, das hatten wir
You'd all
schon.
better hurry.
I closed my eyes, inhaled. Ja, das hatten wir schon. I was as ready as I was ever going to be.
It's judgment time, everyone. If you'll all take a look up here, I've created a handy holographic scoreboard for your viewing convenience. You can thank me later. In a minute, this board will display everyone's final results. Keep in mind, the numbers of each individual player in a group will not be displayed, only their combined scores. After all, what's done is done. Ooh, I'm just so excited for you all to find out the results. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Wieso hat sie ihm seine Karte gegeben? Warum hat sie ihm ihre Karte gegeben? Richtig, Tobi. Das sehe ich jetzt erst. Den vertrauen wir nur so lange, wie wir sie bumsen können. Richtig, richtig, danke. Aber sie opfert sich doch so oder so. Also. Ja, natürlich hatte ich recht. War ja klar. Guck mal. Wir hatten davor das Team, was 10 erreicht hat. Das war klar, dass das nicht sich ändern würde. Sie war mit ihm. Er ist die 3, also muss sie die 7 haben. Sie war mit ihm, sie hat die 2, also muss er die 8 haben. Und die anderen Teams waren davor schon safe, also auf Deutsch muss halt einer von den beiden sterben. Und das ist halt der statt der 8 die 7 hat. Sie hat aber die 7. Sie hatte die 7. 100%. Weil sie hat die 2 und er hat die 3. Und sie war mit ihm in einem Team und er mit ihr. 100% hat sie die 7 gehabt. Aber ich verstehe halt nicht, vielleicht hat sie es einfach als Scheiß drauf gemacht oder so. I was safe, I wasn't going to die. A tremendous... Nein. Also, sie haben ja nicht gelogen. Also, sonst hätten wir ja jetzt auch keine 10. Vielleicht fühlt sie sich wie einer... Guter Punkt, Kurt, das stimmt. Warum sind wir jetzt eigentlich Trump? A tremendous wave of relief washed over me. Despite Kimiko's warnings, trusting the Vogels had paid off. Beatrix, Nicholas, and I all had glowing 10s above our names. It wasn't until my eyes searched further along the scoreboard that I saw it. Soda had a 0. Vielleicht finden sie sich richtig. Nein, Tobi, das hätten wir nicht gemacht. Nein, glaub mir, sie hat die 7.
What is the meaning of this, Die? You got our scores wrong. Why else would my wife have 0? Tell me this instant.
Vladimir wir werden es erfahren, scheinbar. Vladimir stormed up to the hologram, demanding an explanation. His once kind face was distorted with rage, a deep crimson color crawling up his neck as he hurled a string of expletives at Die.
Shh. Hush now, love. Let me explain.
Mommy, what's going on? Why is Daddy yelling?
Everything's fine, sweetheart.
Oh, God. This can't be happening. Not again. I won't let you take the person I love away from me.
Not again? Andreas Günther Vogel und du? Ich wusste es.
You'll have to take me apart piece by piece before I let you touch a hair on this woman's head.
How dare you accuse me of cheating? You must play by the rules, human, and so must I.
It's not wrong, Vladimir. Please, honey, don't do this in front of Melody.
Who did this? Did one of you trick her into doing this? I can't strangle the hologram, but I can still bloody well strangle one of you lot.
Tex. Ich töte natürlich alle, Hauptsache ich gewinne. Ist doch klar, oder? Vladimir whipped around the room like a hurricane, threatening pain to everyone in the room.
Vladimir, stop, please.
Warum opfert sie sich aber? Ist es nicht sinnvoller, wenn man eine Tochter hat, die Mutter weiterleben zu lassen? Vor allem, wenn sie 5 ist und noch nicht mit ihrer Periode oder sonst was umgehen kann. Also ich würde es so machen, also wenn ich die beiden wäre, dann würde ich entscheiden, okay, der von uns wird weiterleben, der das Geschlecht des Kindes hat. Noch ein bisschen häusliche Gewalt, nein.
Please don't tell me this is true. This can't be true. I can't lose you.
All eyes were fixed on Vladimir. His fury gradually subsided under the soothing influence of Sora's calming voice and tender caresses.
I'm so sorry.
Nicht unbedingt in deinen Freundeskreis. Ich bin ein guter Freund. Solange ich halt keinen Nachteil habe, weißt du? Doch, das ist egal, die Mission ist wichtiger. Das wäre meine Einstellung, weil die können ja noch mal bumsen. Das schaffen die schon. Komm, die sehen doch so, die kriegen das doch hin. Komm, das ist 2069 oder so. 96, keine Ahnung. Komm, da gibt's doch Präparate. Klar, gut, Beauty Moon Unicorn und schönen Abend noch. Träum was Schönes, schön, dass du da warst. Ich bin bestimmt auch so eine 5. Hallo, ich bin eine 10, okay?
Why?
His voice quivered, cracking slightly. It was a hurt voice. The voice of a broken man.
Why would you do this to me? To Melody?
I did this for you. For Melody. And for what's left of the human race. When we signed up for this mission, all those many years ago, we agreed that we would do whatever it took for this mission to succeed. After what happened to Charles, to your wife Amanda, to our friends. I never thought I'd be able to recover.
Hey, jetzt tu nicht so! Du hattest eine Frau, sie hatte Charles. Jetzt tu nicht so, als ob das die große Liebe gewesen wäre. Das ist einfach nur der zweite Versuch. Krass.
Then one day, you made me the worst lamington I'd ever eaten. And then, all at once, I saw you clearly.
Naja, die 10 hier bedeutet ja einfach nur, dass ich alleine überleben kann. Deswegen bin ich eine 10, weißt du?
Between the late-night poker sessions and you letting me steal your chocolate rations, I realized that I loved you. And that I loved you for some time.
Ich nehme alles zurück. Er hat ihr Schokolade. Also er hat sie seine Schokolade klauen lassen. Ich nehme alles zurück. Das war wahre Liebe.
But that doesn't change the mission.
I don't care about the mission.
Kann er bitte sterben und du kannst weiterleben? Du bist irgendwie rationaler. Ich mag dich lieber, Sora.
Yes, you do. That's just the disbelief talking. You know that we still have a duty to this ship. That this is bigger than you or I.
Melody gewinnt. Nein.
That's why I did it. I'm the most replaceable crew member.
Ist sie? Was macht sie denn?
I've passed on everything I know to Shizuka. But you still have a job to do.
Das ist gut. Shizuka ist also nicht... Die können wir nicht rausschmeißen.
Our little Melody. She's going to be a scientist, just like her father. And she'll pass down that knowledge to her children. And they'll do the same to theirs. You're still necessary to this mission, my love.
I can't do this without you. Please, don't do this.
You can. You will. For Melody's sake.
Nein, wir mögen Melody nicht, Kurt. Vladimir wrapped his arms around his wife and tugged her close to him. In that tender embrace, Vladimir conveyed the depth of his love for his wife in a way that transcended all words. Meine Güte. He clung to her so closely, so desperately, that it was painful to watch. It was impossible to shake the sensation that we were intruding on an intensely personal moment.
Mommy, what's going on?
Mami ist nicht mehr Kind. Mami wird sterben. Sora scooped Melody up in her arms, bringing her to rest up against her hip.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. I have to go away. But Daddy will be here to take care of you and keep you safe.
Oh, das war gut getimed, okay?
I don't want you to go.
I know it's going to be difficult, sweetie. But I'm sure that one day you'll understand.
Aw, aren't you guys just the cutest? But That's enough of that. Time is money, people. It's time to spin the wheel of fatality. Woo!
Woohoo! Ja, das ist nochmal. With the flourish, die conjured a sizable holographic wheel split up into labeled sections. I barely managed to read them all before Die passed judgment. Wo ich echt gespannt bin, ist es so, dass wir uns bewusst sind, dass wir das alles schon mehrmals erlebt haben, ab einem gewissen Punkt, wie bei Zero Escape. Ich wirklich... Gravity, Airlock, Oxygen, Incineration and Spacewalk. Each one sounded more ominous than the last. Okay. Ja. Rest on.
Incineration.
Okay. Schade.
No time like the present. Let's head on down.
Can't I just have a few more minutes with my family?
No. Move it, sister. Everyone, follow me. As you'll remember from last time, attendance at executions is mandatory for all players participating in the deletion game.
Okay.
Come along now.
Da war ich zu schockiert von dem Betray. Das, naja. Gut.
I will not allow Melody to watch. I absolutely refuse.
I must agree, Dai. Subjecting a child to the demise of a family member is unbelievably cruel.
Di spat out her answer through gritted teeth and a plastered-on smile.
Melody is a participant, just like you. I won't bend the rules merely because she's shorter than the rest of you.
She's a child.
She's a member of this crew. Now, feel free to continue arguing with me, but for every second you push the issue, I'll be decreasing the amount of oxygen flowing into this room.
Teil des Schiffs, Teil der Crew.
This is low, Dai. Even for you. Fine, we'll do it your way. It seems we have no choice in the matter.
Heißt es, dass... Also... Aber sie hat ja nicht gesagt, dass wir ihr die Augen nicht zuhalten dürfen, oder? Ich bin nicht da, ich bin Shizuka. Die ist genauso böse.
And here I thought a little CO2 poisoning might improve your personality. Maybe next time, Captain?
The march to the furnace room was grueling. I'd never seen a person die before. Like any reasonable person, it wasn't something I ever thought I'd have to see. Du bist gerade selbst gestorben, tu nicht so. My stomach revolted at the prospect and my mind felt completely numb. I couldn't even imagine what Sora was going through right now. Sora set a slow pace to the furnace room, dragging out the precious time she had left to spend with her family. The sound of Melody's uncontrollable sobbing was the only sound that echoed throughout the bowels of the ship as we delved deeper than I'd ever ventured before. Good. Hey! As we filed into the furnace room, the ambient temperature rose with every passing step, and I slowly became aware of the gentle crackling of flames. The cavernous room was dominated by the raging fire of the furnace itself, held at bay by a thick pane of reinforced glass. Das kennen wir schon. Ja.
Here we are, Sora, for losing round 2 of the deletion game. You've been sentenced to death by incineration. I must insist that you enter the furnace immediately. No one goes out until she goes in and gets a little singed.
Company, fall in.
Everyone except Melody and Vladimir immediately formed a regimented line and raised their hands in the salute position. I tried to mimic their actions as best as I could.
Navigation Officer Sora Carmine, you have served honorably aboard the Everett, and your many contributions to this mission have been indispensable. Your love and compassion for your fellow crew members have made this ship a better place to live.
Klar, Kurt, klar.
You will be greatly missed. Company, salute.
The entire line saluted in unison. Sora's smile was incredibly bittersweet. She stood up straight and meaningfully locked eyes with each of us before returning a salute of her own. Was ich mich jetzt auch frage, was ist? Ist es wie bei Zero Escape, dass sie uns alle betrayen wollten und es nur nicht geklappt hat, weil wir uns umentschieden haben? Oder ist es wirklich eine andere Realität, wo sie uns gar nicht erst betrayen wollten? Sind sie immer noch miese Säue oder sind sie jetzt nett gewesen?
It's been a privilege being able to serve alongside such fine men and women. Godspeed, friends.
Na, sie hat gesagt, sie hat Shizuka alles beigebracht. Gut, alles gut.
Sora,
You don't have to say a word. I already know.
Ja, nein, Dex, aber es war, also da warst du nicht da. Nein, doch, da warst du da. Aber als ich Shizuka gewählt habe, hieß es, die haben sich alle zusammengeschlossen, um mich rauszuschmeißen. Deswegen, da wollten mich alle betrayen, gemeinsam. Und nur weil ich bei den Vogels geblieben bin, hat es ja jetzt das geändert. Aber ist die Frage, ob sie mich nicht betrayen wollten, also dass es die Absprache gar nicht erst gab. Oder ob es die Absprache doch gab. Das ist die Frage, weil meine Entscheidung war später. Deswegen frage ich mich, ob es einfach nur meine Entscheidung was geändert hat oder ob es wirklich komplett geänderte Stränge sind. Also auf Deutsch, in dem einen Strang, keine Ahnung, gibt es eine fliegende Kokosnuss und in dem anderen Strang gibt es einen fliegenden Apfel und ob es damit was zu tun hat, ob ich davor mir ein Obst ausgesucht habe oder ob es einfach nur so ist. Also unabhängig von egal was. Also es ist einfach so. Das war meine Frage. Sora and Vladimir shared a deep, lingering kiss.
Goodbye, my love.
In you go, Sora. Clock's the ticking.
Sora crouched down face to face with Melody, who was clutching her father's lab coat tight in her fist. Melody's face was lined with tears, which continued to flow freely.
Now, Melody, I need you to do something for me, sweetheart. When I step in there, I need you to close your eyes and not open them, no matter what. Do you understand? Don't open your eyes, sweetie.
Das war natürlich klar, wisst ihr? Damit wir nicht sterben, muss natürlich der schlimmste Tod passieren. Ich meine, also schlimmer wäre nur Melody, aber das kannst du als Spieleentwickler nicht mehr machen. Das gab es früher mal, dass das kleine Kind gestorben ist, aber jetzt ist es halt schwierig. Aber eigentlich ist es schlimm. Also Zwillinge, ja, gut, aber die Mutter, dass die Mutter die erste ist, die stirbt, das ist halt krass.
Okay.
Listen to your father. Be a good girl. Love without measure. I love you, Melody. You're the light of my life. And I hope that one day you'll understand and be able to forgive me. Always remember that I love you. Always.
Sora hugged her daughter one final time, kissed her on the head, forced a smile and stood up.
I'm ready, die.
About time.
Ready, die. I'm ready to die. I could feel the searing heat on my skin as Sora opened the door to the furnace and stepped inside, shutting the door behind her.
Mommy, don't!
Klar, da gibt's jetzt plötzlich ein Bild. Jetzt mach das weg. Melody rushed towards the glass, banging her hands against it in desperation as if it had only just struck her what was about to happen. The blaze licked at Sora's ankles as she bent down and smiled comfortingly.
It's okay, sweetie. Everything will be fine. Close your eyes, honey.
Come back!
Melody stood dejected. Tears cascaded down her cheeks and onto the floor as she stood watching her mother numbly. The tongues of flame had begun to blacken the navigation officer's uniform, causing violent blistering welts to break out on her exposed skin.
Close your eyes. Melody, close your eyes. Vladimir, make her close her eyes. Please.
Nein, der Vladimir. Warum hat er seine Frau nicht beschützt? Vladimir bent down and forced Melody to turn away from her burning mother's visage. Smoke poured off of Sora's scorching body. Animalistic holes wrecked her body as she shrieked, unable to bear the pain any longer. Die ist genauso wie ich.
Melody, honey, look at Daddy. It's okay, honey.
Ich glaube wirklich, dass es das gibt, weil... Warte, ich speichere mal kurz. You sure you want to override? Ja. Ich kann nicht gucken. Ich kann, glaube ich, nur... Was ist das? Doch. Hä, schon wieder ein Ende, oder was? Okay, schon wieder ein Ende. The last thing I saw was Vladimir pulling Melody into a hug, holding her head so that she couldn't turn to look at her mother, whose charred skin was starting to slough off from the muscle underneath. Ich dachte, wir sind einen Schritt weiter. I clamped my eyes shut, sickened at the sight of her gruesome death. Even with my eyes shut, my imagination ran riot as a visceral thump reverberated throughout the room. Diese schweren Wörter immer. The putrid smell of burning human hair and flesh pushed me over the edge, causing me to gag. Cold air whooshed in behind me as the doors finally opened. I opened my eyes and scrambled towards the exit as fast as my legs could carry me. Das weißt du noch gar nicht, David. Das weißt du gar nicht. We all spread out in the corridor, eager to get some breathing room after the horrific execution we just witnessed. Bei Zero Escape war am Anfang auch gut, aber es war halt dann so der zweite Teil vor allem alles mal wiederholen und so, das war halt hart. Beatrix and Nicholas held each other for emotional support. Shizuka knelt nearby, her body racked by irregular spasms, holding down the contents of her stomach through sheer force of will. Poor Vladimir, even though his face remained drawn and his eyes were bright red from crying, he was still doing his best to hold it together for Melody. No matter how hard Vladimir tried to comfort Melody, however, she remained inconsolable, screaming and thrashing in his arms in futile protest against her mother's cruel fate. One by one, we left the two of them alone, unable to endure the sight of their anguish any longer. As we left the area, a voice taunted us through the intercom.
The next round of the deletion game begins in 24 hours. Sweet dreams, everyone!
Yay! Kapitel 1! I couldn't sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my stomach unsettled by my all too recent exposure to the stench of burning flesh. What made it even worse was that this was all my fault. If I'd never been brought aboard the ship, Dai's deadly fail-safe measures would never have been activated. Sora would still be alive, Melody would still have mother and Vladimir a wife. My stomach churned as the image of Sora popped back into my head. I tried my best to forget those gruesome images and replace them with her soft smile I saw just days ago while eating lunch with her. Lunch. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape the sobering reality of the situation. Sora was dead. Silence filled the room for what felt like an eternity. Suddenly, I appeared next to the bed. Her head hung low.
This is my fault.
Her eyes reflected a sadness I'd never thought a computer program would be capable of feeling. What? No, it isn't. If anyone is to blame, it would be me.
My records are quite complete. Throughout human history, many cases have come before the courts in which a person committed a crime but chose to plead insanity, asserting that they were not themselves when they inflicted harm on others.
Ja, Dominik, wir haben bestimmt Dai erschaffen oder irgend sowas kommt dann im Endeffekt raus. Weil, ja, Andreas Günther Vogel, den haben wir auf dem Gewissen, aber das ist okay. Yeah, but
I have footage of people killing others, people who claim they weren't responsible after the fact. Yet these video records confirm, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the accused were, in fact, the culprits. They have not been altered in any way. It was that person.
Warte, ich schreibe mal kurz die Zahlen auf. Ich kann die anderen nicht wissen. Ich weiß nicht, wer 4 und 6 hat. Ich weiß aber auch nicht, wer 3 und 7 hat. Nee, 1 und 9 hat. Weil ich nicht weiß, wer... Das ist blöd. This isn't like that.
Why isn't it? It is my programming that is killing my friends, killing my family. I watch you die like you would watch a film. I just watched one of my friends burn through my eyes as a result of my actions. It is my programming. In essence, what makes me, me. So why can't I control it? Why is it conflicted?
Do you want your friends to die?
Of course not.
Look at me. I raised her head to look at me. If she didn't glow like a star in the night sky, you would have no way of knowing that this face wasn't human. Her eyes glistening glistened, betraying that she was about to cry. This has never been your fault, and never will be. No, I don't want to hear it. You have no control over your programming. You didn't write that code, nor set up its structure. Asking you to control that is like asking me to grow my hair out red instead of gray. I can't change it, and neither can you. Sure, I can dye it to try and hide the gray, but in a genetic sense, it's still gray.
I suppose you are right.
However, this does give me an idea. I looked at me for the first time with a hopeful smile. Could an AI feel hope? I honestly didn't know, but if her current demeanor was any indication, they certainly could.
What is it?
Mach das, Dex. Bis gleich. Aber Dex, ich warne vor, wir hören bald auf, ne? Gute Idee, David. Hear me out here. I may not be able to genetically change the fact that I have gray hair, but locating which gene in my genetic map causes me to have gray hair is a whole other matter.
I don't think I understand your idea.
Of course, why didn't I think about this before? I gave me a quizzical look, tilting her head slightly to one side. To say that I have gray hair is one thing, but understanding how and why I have gray hair is another thing entirely. Do you have access to your programming? Drunken Dex.
Of course I do. However, I cannot alter anything.
No, of course not. You were designed with service in mind, programmed to serve the administrator's behest.
Indeed. I am the Artificial Intelligence Unit Everett, model number 11037. I was created for the sole purpose of conducting activities aboard the Everett.
I's eyes took on a distant glassy look as she rattled off her service history. Okay, und jetzt glaube ich, wird uns beigebracht, dass wir die verschiedenen Stränge abarbeiten müssen, oder?
First served under Captain Ayumu Yukimori, now deceased. Currently serving under Commanding Officer Captain Kimiko Yukimori.
Yes, of course. The real question is, can you access your program without Dai knowing?
I don't know.
Nee, keine Ahnung da. Echt, keine Ahnung. Is there a way for you to find out?
I am not sure what her capabilities are.
Wieso grinst sie? Okay, do you think you could try and find out?
How do you suggest I proceed?
For now, try to locate her particular program within the AI system. Just tell me when you find it and I'll see what I can do.
Very well.
This could be the way in. If I can access her programming, I should be able to delete it. Or at the very least, disable it. Thank you, I
haven't completed the task yet.
No, I mean for coming and seeing me. I didn't even know how I was going to get up and face the day, but now... We might actually be able to fix this, perhaps even prevent any more crew members from going to their death. And that's all thanks to you, I. Trauen wir eigentlich I? Och, Dex, ich traue doch niemandem so wirklich. Also, auch Melody vertraue ich definitiv nicht. Ich vertraue nicht mal mir selbst. Das ist das, was ich dir sagen kann. I's face lit up with a smile. For the first time since the execution, she looked just like the I I'd first met a week ago. Weil wir ganz ehrlich sind, irgendwer muss ja gewollt haben, dass I so wird. Delete the deletion game. Ja, vor allem, man hat ja eigentlich genug Beispiele dafür, warum es nicht gut ist, ein Nazi zu sein. Her smile washed over me and I felt happier than I thought possible. Given the circumstances, everything was going to be okay. I was going to make sure of it.
Well, I have duties to attend to before breakfast.
I bowed and left as quickly as she came. Even though my eyes were heavy and my body felt sluggish, there was still no way I could sleep. Enough wallowing in self-pity. Being sad isn't going to bring back Sora. I'd promised to fix this, to save her family and the mission. The day had started and I was already burning daylight. I jumped out of bed, energized by my renewed resolve. Time to get moving. Nothing gets the day started like a hot shower, fresh air, well, as fresh as it gets on a spaceship. Ein Snack! Everyone knew that you couldn't work on an empty stomach, and I was no different. A little snack would give my brain the boost it needed to really get working on this deletion game dilemma. Oh god, 0-time dilemma! Unfortunately, I would have to sneak into the kitchen. After all, it wasn't mealtime yet. After making my way silently down the hall, I finally reached the kitchen. After checking to make sure the coast was clear, I slipped inside. I was surprised by my own skills and quite impressed. I'm the greatest secret agent / ninja that has ever lived. The name's Bond. Hanzo Bond. I cautiously made my way to the fridge. When I opened the door, I could see some recently picked fruit. Apples, bananas, and strawberries, all in a bowl together at about an eye heat in the fridge. Who would have thought that the greatest secret agent / ninja would love bananas? As I shut the fridge with a banana clasped in my left hand, I heard something moving in the herb section of the kitchen. I immediately froze. What if someone caught me stealing food? The captain would definitely throw me out the nearest airlock, but Katashi would subject me to far worse. I gulped back my fear before tentatively calling out. So, there. Is anyone there? Suddenly laughter filled the kitchen. I recoiled from the fridge and attempting to hide the banana behind my back. A figure suddenly popped out of the herb garden. Hanzo Bond? Bananas?
Hanzo Bond Bananas.
Ach so, oh.
Are you trying to kill me?
Guck, ich lebe schon, Shizuka. Ich will Shizuka schon vorlesen, weil sie ich ist. Shizuka made her way towards me, clutching her stomach as she laughed uncontrollably. I needed to play it cool and come up with something fast. Hey, Shizuka, what are you doing here?
The same thing as you, silly.
Nein, sie hat uns gehört. Lex, sie hat uns gehört. You're also secret agent / ninja.
I sure am. Seriously though, I was just hungry.
Isn't stealing food against the rules?
Is it? Then why do you have a banana?
Oh no, Hanzo Bond has been caught by their arch nemesis. Well, you see, the captain asked for a banana I like to eat when I'm stressed. Obwohl, komm, wir machen. I like to eat when I'm stressed.
Me too. Eating is so much easier than dealing with my feelings.
Essen ist Beste. It really is, isn't it? Shizuka started riffling through the fridge in front of me. She seemed to be looking for something in particular.
I'm here stealing food too. I know Katashi will be angry, but...
Best friends forever. Naja, nicht forever, weil irgendwann haben wir kein Essen mehr, aber das ist okay. But...
Well, you know, if it's game over for me in like a week, I want to be able to eat the food I like before I die.
Ich liebe sie. Ich liebe sie. That makes sense.
Seriously though, who steals a banana?
Frag mich nicht, ich durfte nicht entscheiden. Well, I was hungry and I really needed something to settle my stomach so I could try to think straight.
But a banana? There should be better stuff in here.
Ich liebe Bananen, aber das ist nicht das Beste. Wenn du was stehlen musst, um es zu essen, dann sollte es schon mehr sein. Moment, Leute. Nein, Kurt, wir wollen miteinander essen. Wenn wir beide die Letzten sind, die übrig sind, dann wollen wir uns vielleicht gegenseitig töten. Shizuka continued rummaging through the fridge, grunting from the physical exertion of her increasingly frenzied search.
Got it! Oh, Katashi. Did you really think you could hide this from me?
Was denn? Shizuka pulled out a large container that was full of vegetables, including Brokkoli. Oh, ich liebe Brokkoli. Und Blumenkohl. You mocked me for a banana and you want broccoli?
No! This!
Shizuka pulled out a small tray that was purposely hidden under the vegetables. The tray contained 3 pink custard sliced pastries topped with chunks of strawberries and jelly.
Katashi loves sweets, and strawberries are his favorite.
Nicht David. Wir uns alle gegenseitig. Also ich euch auch, ihr mich und euch und wir uns auch. How did you know this would be here?
Katashi makes desserts when he's stressed, and after yesterday's, I didn't see him again, so I knew he would be doing something like this.
Shouldn't we leave it then?
Not in a million years. Besides, we'll leave him some. It's only fair.
Da sind 3 Stück drin. Sie ist eine, ich bin eine und er ist einer. Before I could even argue, Shizuka had whipped out 2 of the pastries and placed one in front of me. This girl moved like lightning when it came to food. When next she spoke, her mouth was full of custard slice.
Isn't it great?
It is pretty great. My compliment to the chef. Well, thanks for the treat, Shizuka, and thanks for making this delicious cake, Katashi. Shizuka had finished inhaling her pastry minutes before me, leaving her enough time to return the fridge and kitchen to their previous state. The only traces of our wrongdoing were the crumbs at the corners of Shizuka's mouth.
It's our little secret, right?
Hier bis 20 Grad steht da. I'll take it to my grave.
Good. Well, I have to get to the bridge to update the captain. Them's the breaks now that I'm in charge of navigation. Goodbye, free time.
Die hat so gute Laune, die hat auch irgendwie Dreck am Stecken. When Shizuka left, I decided to head back to my room. I sat and thought for quite some time on how to address this deletion game issue, but kept coming up short. I had the feeling that I was going to need help from other crew members to work this out. Even though I'd just eaten, my stomach was still rumbling. It was about time for breakfast, so I decided to head over to the dining hall a little early. I made my way into the dining hall. As I entered, I was greeted by familiar faces, some of which seemed a little more haggard than yesterday. Their sunken eyes and pale skin portraying the psychological distress. And then there was Shizuka, who just looked hungry. Da fühle ich mich. Da fühle ich mich. Diese Kiefer. Nein. As I looked around, I noticed that all 8 crew members, aside from myself, were already here, including an understandably devastated Melody. Even I was present. Had I arrived late? I'm so sorry I'm late.
You aren't late. In fact, you're early.
The captain's stern exterior was broken ever so slightly, with a small smirk on the left side of her face, as she said, I was early? She stood before me for a moment longer before swiveling on the spot to take a head count, looking around, giving small nods to indicate she was counting everyone as present in her head.
Everyone arrived early today.
I could hear the concern in her voice. I stood in the corner, quietly making eye contact with the ground.
All right. Well, let's get started.
The room didn't make a sound.
Last night was quite unpleasant, and it's
Unpleasant? Really? Were you watching the same execution we were?
The captain ignored Beatrix and kept speaking.
Vladimir and Melody, losing Sora was incredibly unfortunate, and I can't begin to imagine how this must feel for you. I'm so incredibly sorry. Sora was a strong and caring woman, and will be greatly missed.
Vladimir lifted his head just to meet Kimiko's eyes as she continued speaking. The events of the previous day had clearly pushed Vladimir to his breaking point. Cradling Melody in his arms, he attempted a weak smile.
Sora made her choice in order for all of us to live. The only reason we're all still alive right now is because of her.
Warum?
We should do everything in our power to stop the deletion game and continue the mission.
The captain is right. The 8 of us are still here. It would behoove us to try and find a way out of this mess. I'm sure that we can do it if we put our heads together.
The moral of the room was swiftly increasing. Yoshiki stood up frankly.
Sora wouldn't want us to be sad. She'd want us to be happy. We should all do our best.
Hat echt lange nicht mehr geredet und ich habe ihn nicht vermisst. Vladimir clung tightly to Melody before speaking.
Thank you. Thank you all.
If there is anything we can do, Vladimir, please let us know.
The captain and Vladimir exchanged fragile smiles before being interrupted.
I have something for you, Capitan.
Lunas crush, richtig, definitiv. Dai appeared next to the chair Vladimir was sitting in, bending forwards towards Kimiko while pointing to herself gleefully. Without making a sound, Melody tightened her grip around her father.
Dai, can't we have a moment without you?
Ouch, Captain! And I thought we were friends.
Lass dich schmecken, Dex.
If you aren't going to leave, get on with it.
Well, someone's definitely not getting a Christmas card this year.
What do you want, Dai?
Oh, good morning, Beatrix. I didn't see you there. Anyway, enough chit-chat. This isn't a mother's club. I'm not here for hot goss. I'm here to announce the next round of the deletion game.
Warum durfte ich eigentlich Beatrix nicht sprechen? Ich meine, wenn jemand prädestiniert ist, sie zu sprechen, und ich habe auch nicht ein Handy-Mikrofon, dann bin es ich. Ich habe nämlich den perfekten deutsch-englischen Dialekt.
Can't we have at least a day to mourn our dead before being forced to play another round?
You could, but...
But what?
I don't want to wait. Besides, it would only make it more difficult for you all with less time to play.
Ja, frag nicht mich, frag die Entwickler. Komisch, oder? Also, nee, das verstehe ich auch nicht.
Yoshiki, drumroll please.
What? Why?
Yoshiki, you enjoy living, right? Welcome to the deletion games. Round 3, Logiship.
Entwickler! Oh Gott, Logiship. Ich kenne nur Logitech. Logiship is played with 9 players. Ja, fragt sich nur, warum 9? Each person is represented by a ship. Each ship has 2 health points. Danke nicht, David. Genau so. These ships will be placed next to each other in a row. Whoa. No one will be told which ship belongs to which player, including their own. Instead, you will each receive 1 clue, 9 in total. In order to figure out where everyone's ship is located, you will need all 9 clues. Sharing is allowed. Each person will receive 1 torpedo and will choose which ship to fire at. The first player whose ship receives 2 torpedo attacks will be eliminated. Naja, nicht so ganz. Good luck. Eigentlich ist es eher so das Anti-Schiffe versenken. Jeder versucht eins zu treffen und du versuchst ihm zu erklären, okay, du nimmst das, damit jeder nur einmal getroffen wird.
In this game, you will each be represented by a ship with 2 health points.
Achso, ich bin nicht mehr im Spiel, Entschuldigung.
Each person will receive 1 torpedo and will choose which ship to fire.
What? Welcome to the Everett's personal tablet system. Please choose the directory on the left to continue. Happy birthday, was? The crew's final messages can be heard and read here. Was? Read here, meine ich. James Beans. James Beans, der eine mag Beans. Dear Dad, I just want to thank you for everything you've ever done for me, from paying for my education to... Ich weiß es nicht. Richtig saftigen deutsche Beschwerde. Richtig so. Und überhören die Briefmarke von... Danke nicht, David. Genauso. Okay, hier sind auch die Dinge. Okay. Was ich aber eigentlich gesucht hatte gerade, war der Log. Und, also... Nein. Ich wollte eigentlich wirklich den Log suchen. Gibt's den irgendwo? Naja. Schade. Nein, hier. Echt nicht? Der deutsche Mahnfinger. Hä? Okay, das ist...
The first player whose ship receives 2 torpedo attacks will be eliminated.
Nicht David, lauf!
Here's the kicker, though. None of you will be told which ship belongs to which player, including your own. You will each receive 1 clue, 9 in total. In order to figure out where everyone's ship is located, you will need all 9 clues. As was the case in the last round, sharing information will be allowed.
Yay!
Time to be super friendly with each other. Or not. I mean, one of you still has to die after all. Ahem. Anyway, if you shoot blindly... you might kill yourself! Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Ja, lustig.
Mark your calendars, folks. You'll be shooting your torpedoes on Sunday between the hours of 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. It couldn't be simpler. Just enter the dining hall one at a time and fire away. After 5 p.m., I'll announce the results and weekly festivities will begin. The first player to receive 2 torpedo attacks will be declared the loser, even if more than one player receives 2 missile strikes. I am giving you an hour, so no excuses. Get your shots in early, okay?
Ja, richtig. Ja, das meine ich ja, Dex. Deswegen ist es halt weniger Schiffe versenken als how to not versenk your Schiff und so. Dass jeder halt, also zum Beispiel 1 trifft 2, 2 trifft 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 1 und dann wäre alles gut.
One last thing. In the unlikely event that every single person attacks each other exactly once, we'll have a second round. So please try to finish someone off quickly, okay? I have better things to do.
Eine zweite Runde ist scheiße. Weil du der Erste, der 2 Torpedos abkriegt und wenn alle jeden anderen, dann ist halt der Erste, der... Dann viel Spaß mit Valheim. Freut mich, dass dir gefällt.
So to review, you will each be represented by a ship numbered between 1 and 9 with 2 health points apiece. Each player will receive 1 missile to fire, and the first player whose ship is hit twice will be eliminated. You won't know which ship belongs to which person, but you'll each be given a clue that you're free to share with other players.
So nach dem Motto wahrscheinlich, ja, dein Schiff liegt zwischen Nikolas und Beatrix. Und wenn du weißt, was die halt für welche, also was die für Schiffe haben, also wenn du einen davon weißt, weißt du halt, was dein Schiff ist. Irgend sowas bestimmt.
Everyone got it?
Yeah, we got it.
Wonderful! Now I'll provide each of you with your clue. To ensure there is no cheating, I'm going to have to ask you all to return to your quarters for now. I'll visit each one of you individually with your information. That's right, I make house calls now.
Yay! Di winked at us, mischievously poking her puffed up cheek, attempting to be cute.
Is this really necessary?
Ah, gute Idee, Dex. Gute Idee.
Afraid so, Captain.
Captain?
Just remember, as the onboard AI, I know where you are at all times. So if anyone has the bright idea to leave their quarters before I give the all clear, they'll be disqualified and face immediate elimination.
Oh Gott, es ist schon fast 12:30. Oh mein Gott, ich muss mit dem Hund noch gehen und was zu essen machen.
All right, people, stop dawdling. Mommy Di is grounding you all for not doing your homework.
Everyone got up slowly from the table as if in a daze. The moral that was increasing moments ago was shattered as Melody's cries pierced the air. Vladimir carried her out, hugging her tightly enough that he was able to muffle most of her screams. The rest of us followed into the hallway and made our way back to our respective rooms. Ja, vor allem muss ich mit dem Hund gehen. Ich konnte heute Nachmittag nicht so lang gehen, weil so viel los war. Ja, richtig wird das. Für mich, also für mich nicht Bett, aber für mich heißt es Ende des Streams. Welches Jahr haben wir? Meinst du in dem Spiel? In dem Spiel ist es 2096? Kann das sein? 2097, Entschuldigung. I arrived in my room and sat at the end of my bed. You've got to be kidding me, Di. Sora hadn't even been dead for 24 hours, but here we were again. I had to stop this as soon as possible. I only had to wait a few minutes before Di appeared before me.
Yahoo! Sorry to keep you waiting.
I wasn't really waiting that long.
So polite. It'll really suck when I have to kill you.
Hey, wir teamen einfach mit Di ab. Thank you.
I'm here to give you your clue, and I'm not going to repeat myself, so make sure you're listening.
Entwickler, könnt ihr bitte fixen, dass eure Voicelines abgeschnitten sind teilweise? Danke.
Melody is 3 positions to the left of Beatrix.
Ach, das habe ich kacke gemacht. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. 9. 5, 6, 7, 8 und 9. Okay. Melody is 3 positions to the left of B. Also 1, 2. Also wenn Melody 3 wäre, wäre Beatrix 6, richtig? Okay. Melody. Drei links von Beatrix. Okay. Die Musik zu stressig. Ist ja nicht so lang. Got it, thank you.
Any questions?
Ja, krieg ich noch einen Tipp? Why do you have to kill people? Auch gute Punkte. Also, aber erstmal würde ich das Spiel versuchen zu schaffen.
Whoa, going for deep and meaningful questions without even buying me dinner first? You were so polite to me beforehand, so I guess I'll humor you this time. In 2099, unexpected orbital debris from a previous mission caused extensive damage to the ship. At that time, we lost a vast quantity of resources.
Ich bin 2097 geboren.
After assessing the damage, the AI system determined that their current resources would not be able to sustain the crew through to the end of the mission. Having confirmed this, she went ahead and informed the captain.
Then what?
Well, long story short, the captain made me, and now here we are.
Also irgendwo in der ersten Hälfte von 2100 befinden wir uns. Und zwar eher ein bisschen früher als zu spät, weil so alt sind wir, glaube ich, nicht. I feel like you just skipped over the most important part of the story.
Sorry, honey, but you're going home from this date disappointed. Well, I'm off. A certain captain is waiting for me.
Alright, thanks, Di.
Huh? I mean, toodles.
Wir müssen nur lieb zu ihr sein, dann funktioniert das. With a childish wave, Di faded out of existence, leaving me alone in my room. At this rate, I wasn't sure how much longer I'd be able to hold on to my sanity. Now I just had to sit there and wait for the okay from Di to be allowed to leave. I decided to lie down for a second and rest my eyes. I awoke roughly an hour later to Di's voice over the ship's intercom system.
All right, friends. I've done my rounds. All house calls are complete. You're free to go about your day as usual. Well, until Sunday, that is.
Di definitely knew how to push everyone's buttons. I really wish she told me more about the damage to the ship, though. Now wasn't the time to daydream. The current round of the deletion game had already started less than 24 hours after Sora's death. I needed to check up on a few things. Check on Vladimir and Melody. Check on the captain. Können wir das einfach so speichern und das nächste Mal entscheiden? Können wir, cool. So, ich würde sagen, 12:30 it is, wir gehen. Packt eure Sachen, wir gehen. Schlaf mit Veritas träume was Schönes. Halt, der 400 Tag gehört dir. Ah, die Nacht mit meinem Hund, aber ja. Und wir dann essen natürlich. Ah. So. Ach Gott, Hilfe, Entschuldigung. Danke euch fürs dabei sein. Und tut mir leid, Kurt. Wir sterben am Donnerstag wahrscheinlich wieder. Ja, ich habe ja Kekse gegessen, aber ich habe halt Hunger. Und Kekse sind einfach nur dick machen und nicht satt machen. Das ist das Problem. Das freut mich, heilige Würmerkatze, das freut mich. Weil bei Zero Escape waren wir 3 Leute, wo ab und zu mal andere Leute dann dabei waren, die das mochten. Der Rest nicht so. Deswegen je mehr, desto besser. Ja, auf jeden Fall. Also nicht versprechen. Versprechen tue ich nie was, weil kann immer was dazwischen kommen. Aber wenn alles gut läuft und alles normal ist, dann streame ich am Donnerstag und dann spielen wir das Spiel weiter. Und dann werden wir wahrscheinlich auch sterben. Weil wir ja alle Enden machen müssen. So. Dann würde ich sagen. Ich würde sagen. Wo schicke ich euch denn mal hin? Jetzt ist die Musik aus. Ach nee, der Loop ist einfach nur vorbei. Wo schicken wir euch denn hin? Ich glaube, wen wir lange nicht hatten, ist... Ja. Er spielt World of Warcraft. Ich danke euch fürs dabei sein. Ich danke euch fürs Zuschauen, fürs bald mitspekulieren. Auch nicht. Ne, das geht schon wieder nicht, ne? Brech mal kurz ab. Das war gestern genauso. Das ist doch einfach generell kaputt. Okay, das ist einfach generell kaputt. Naja, gut. Danke euch fürs dabei sein. Nicht wahr? Donnerstag war ungefähr übermorgen, oder? Ja, heute. Also es ist jetzt zwischen offiziell Mittwoch, aber eigentlich ist noch Dienstag. Also ja. Nee, ich musste neu starten gestern, Dex. So. Dann danke euch fürs dabei sein. Schlaft gut, träumt was Schönes, habt noch eine angenehme Nacht. Und wie gesagt, bis Donnerstag. Tüdelü. Toodles!